Mama, we made it. Bring, 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 bring. What it do now? Proud. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is all about the simple things. Do you understand me? So take a step back, take your exquisite watch off, look at your shoes. They better be Converse or Vans. Keep it very simple. But hey, if Salvatore Ferragamo's your simple, shout out to the opulence you grew up in.
You did.
We have my brother Lorenzo Diggins Jr. with us, ladies and gentlemen. What it do, Lorenzo, baby?
Yes.
How are you, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
It's really incredible to me because there's been quite a few guests that have come on, and you know how we do these. We record when we can, and we have episodes compiled up of brilliant creators and entertainers and marketers and designers, whatnot. But there's been so many people that have come on in which we're speaking about, you know, who we have coming on next and who's about to come on, and your name always popped up. And it was such a beautiful thing for me to see what type of emotion of excitement was evoked when your name was brought up. Because what a lot of cats don't understand is you play a very pivotal role. Like, when I look at you, I think of you as your favorite creator's favorite creator, right? Somebody that's your favorite style icon's favorite style icon, right? Somebody that essentially, to me, and this is my view, somebody that essentially, to me, when cats, whether they're at a level of success or whether at a level of acclaim or attention or whatnot, the cats that ultimately end up really doing things in life are the ones that are continuing to do them and becoming in their own right. And a lot of these individuals that are, whether on their path to becoming or have become in some regards, have always looked towards you and have spoken of you in such high acclaim. So I just wanted to let you know, thank you so much for being here with us. And I cannot wait to get behind the mind and the story of one of my favorite creators. You understand me?
I dig that, man.
Wow.
Lovely.
God damn.
God damn.
Lorenzo leaves. He's like, man, thank you.
Hold on. I'm out. Do we need to all call our mothers right now on the cell phone
Wow.
or speakerphone?
Mama, I really have made it.
Damn.
It's an incredible thing for me. And, you know, by the way, Lorenzo's current project, The Simple Things, and everything that he's doing around it really inspired me. If you haven't checked it out, be sure to inquire about it, or, you know, search your interwebs or go to your nearest pop-up when he does them. He's currently working on number 2 right now.
Number 2.
Awesome.
It will be out Christmas Day.
Ooh.
That's going to be an incredible
right.
gift, bro. I'm going to actually be St. Nicholas himself and ride the sled into wherever the hell I can get that.
There you go.
And tell Rudolph to get the hell out afterwards because I want to eat on Christmas. You dig me?
You guys may have an advanced copy, though.
I would love that.
Beautiful.
Dandada.
Beautiful.
Well, shit, I feel special. Mama, I made it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Lo, so let's take it back to your upbringing, because I feel like, especially with guys like yourself, the way you were brought up really kind of formed or allowed you to have a view of the world that really took you to where you are now. But let's take it back to childhood. What was that like? Like, what was that experience for you? Who were those figures that really, you know, played a critical role in your formative years?
Mm-hmm. Childhood, man, it's always been like family for me. That's always been like the people that's really been like my support system.
Yeah.
I've always had like a really supportive family. However, emotionally, it was like really, really stressful.
Really?
My mom and dad divorced when I was 2, so I have no memory of them together. And for all I know, it was always been like, I always say like I lived like a double life.
Yeah.
Going back and forth between mom and dad's house.
Wow.
And the dynamics were completely different.
Really?
On my mom's side, I was technically the man of the house, oldest of 2 brothers. On my dad's side, I was the only child for 14 years. Wow. So just my life has always been about like adjustment, like literally going 1 week here, 1 week there, and just constantly having to adjust to parenting styles, the dynamics of just the families.
What was that like? What was that like for you? Were they significantly different in their styles of parenting?
Absolutely. My dad, well, yesterday my mom is definitely hands-on.
Got it.
And my dad, I would say, was hands-off. However, he did, he kind of like, I feel like I didn't appreciate it growing up, but now I get it. Like he kind of allowed me to figure it out on my own. I didn't understand that at the time. I felt like it was like an emotional disconnect, but I think a lot of it was just him trying to allow me to navigate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Where'd you grow up?
South Central and Culver City, I would say. So
Got it.
literally like half and half. So my mom's side always lived in South Central.
Got it.
And then my dad lived in Culver City up until I was like 8th grade.
Got it.
So up until 8th grade, like elementary and junior high, I went to school in Culver City. And then the rest I went like South Central.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So even schooling was split like that.
Yeah.
How was that for you as a kid growing up? Were you like bouncing between these worlds and having to juggle friends?
These are all things because it was like my reality. I didn't realize how much of a advantage it gave me compared to some of my peers that lived in South Central. just being able to adjust to different lifestyles and just different economic classes, just like being exposed to certain stuff that some of my peers wasn't. I didn't understand that until later on.
Oh, really?
Because it was lifestyle. It was just like, it was just
I
me.
feel like as kids, and we were having this conversation with B. Wade, is like as kids, and even a lot of people, is like as kids, you don't know if you're poor or if you're black or if you're white until you start getting to the age where these things are brought to your attention. Right?
Absolutely.
And especially for a lot of kids in South Central areas or areas where one would consider them quote unquote the hood, it's like you don't realize the possibilities or lack thereof until you're outside of that.
100%.
Right? So
like that part, like 100%. I mean, I think, and I do know, like I was always a little more intuitive than most of my peers. Like I picked up on stuff because of like the adjustment. I feel like I was always connected to like just like my emotional senses and just other people's emotions. So it was just like certain things that I was always aware of and just like certain sensibilities. But specifically in terms of just like that exposure part. Yeah. My first job was when I was 16. Okay. Well, 15. My first.
Got that work permit.
Yeah. Actually, my first. I'm not gonna even count that one as my first job. But my first official job was 16, working.
Didn't need the work permit.
At
That's true.
at the Beverly Center at Up Against the Wall.
Got it.
Nice.
Which was the premier store at the time.
Yep.
Specifically the Beverly Center location.
Respect.
Yeah.
I remember that spot. That spot was jumping.
Speaking of that, that's where I met all the 5'4" guys working at that shop.
Up Against the Wall?
Because they had just they were really close with the store manager at the time, and they had like their own like nice little sections. That's when I actually met them.
Wild.
That's 2004, 2005.
Wild.
Yeah.
Bro, I was working in 2004. I was working at the Banana Republic in Beverly Center.
Oh man, that's tight.
So y'all were in the same vicinity, didn't even know it.
Like weren't they right by each other? Or like
I think because it was on the second floor.
Second floor, exactly.
Second floor, yeah.
I feel like it was right by each other.
Right near the Macy's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's wild. That's wild.
That's dope. So going back, for me, like I realized just that difference in terms of just like the power of exposure at a younger age, just on my commute to work, just seeing the transitions between, at the time it was, in my community it was Popeye's chicken, in my community, it was Popeye's chicken, and as I would travel west, at the time it was Kookaroo's chicken. So just like those subtle changes.
But Kookaroo suffered the same fate. Popeyes is still chilling. Kookaroo,
right.
Shot R.I.P. Kookaroos. While simultaneously shout out to Kookaroos.
Popeye.
Yeah. You know, and then later on, like I think the Beverly Center at the time was like one of the first Chipotle's. So just seeing like Taco Bell,
right. That is
seeing
right.
Taco Bell, and just seeing like these healthier choices. Like I picked up on like there's so much more to offer just on like little stuff like that. Just in the commute to work. You know,
that's incredible though. Yeah. But it's wild that you pick up those types of things, right? Because they're such staples, but you'd never really think of those being barometers for that, right? Like from Pizza Hut to fucking like, you know what I'm saying? Back in the day, it was like Round Table or
right, exactly,
right?
Yeah.
What were your aspirations as a kid? So being that you were somebody that was very in touch with their, I want to say emotions, but also their surroundings, right? You were very aware as a kid.
Absolutely.
Did you have? Was it like as a kid? What were you like? Elementary school and junior high. What were you? When you started dreaming, right? And when they started saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? Did you have that in mind, or did it completely sway from that?
No. Actually, at the time I wanted to be a hooper. I wanted to play basketball.
Got it. Ball is life.
Ball was life. It still is. However, I just realized this actually last year. I was always working towards what I was doing now.
How so?
Even when I was younger, my first art exhibit, I was in 4th or 5th grade, and I was collaborating. I was always like a serial collaborator. I had like a artist partner, Daniel Lieberman. We went to Elrond Con together.
What up, Daniel?
Shout out, Daniel.
What up, Daniel?
See you, baby.
Daniel Lieberman. So he and I, what we used to do was...
What were the two roles? Was it like...
I'm going to tell you. So
got it.
Since we were both hoopers, Slam Magazine, any of those magazines, whoever was on the cover... We would draw the cover. We would take turns on who drew the cover.
Okay.
Whoever was on the cover, generally what we would do was we would like outfit them or like create like our own backdrop.
Nice.
For whatever.
Wild.
So we'll make like these weird scenarios. Like say it was like not a Mars Sidemark. That was too early. Like Jason Kidd or somebody.
Word.
And they had on their jersey, but we'll put them in like a tropical setting or whatever.
I feel you.
So you were just doing the backgrounds of them?
No, we would draw the person, but you know, in the Slam magazine, it's just like them. It's just them playing basketball, or whatever. But we always had this imagination, like kind of bring them into our own world.
That's amazing.
Wow.
And with these images,
do these exist still?
Yeah, they do. They do.
Okay,
I have most of them.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to break that out.
And I didn't realize this. Like my mom. Shout out to my mom. She's always been, I think, really good parenting is like when you find out what your kids are into and you try to nurture those talents or interests and like
absolutely.
So when I got into art, she was looking around trying to she was seeing what type of opportunities there were, and at the time in Culver City. We entered an art exhibit.
Oh, wow.
And shout out to his mom as well. They chipped in and they had all of our images framed.
No way.
Wow.
And we were the only kids in this exhibit with adults. And
that's wild,
so awesome.
Bro.
And one of our
shout out to both of y'all mothers.
Right? And one of our drawings came in first place. It was like this abstract of Kobe Bryant. I actually have that. When we split, like we did, like just looking back, we did like an exhibit of like 24 images, like professionally framed, different colors. So we had like the different color frames to match the. And
how old were y'all at this time?
5th grade, so 10. I have pictures and everything. I have pictures, and I still have all the images in their frames at my house.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It's something so nice when you're a kid. There's like this innocence in everything, right? It's not about, you're not thinking about your career or making money or discovering what the new trend is. It's purely your imagination and fun and just, into art. It's such a pure space at that time.
Yeah, it's such a blank slate, bro.
Yeah, it's, I feel like creativity is like almost at its purest there.
Yeah.
Because you don't care about like judgment. You don't have those insecurities that are popping up. There's not the fucking critics.
Nor is there like the honor roll classes that when you start like to hit the class system within school, like I feel like that comes in like middle school.
Yeah.
Right.
I hated the honor roll kids. I just want to say that.
I was the one honor roll kid that literally infiltrated the shit out of the whole system, right? Because y'all know me, I'm loud, I'm obnoxious at times, right? And the smart kids hated me, bro. But one thing that I did have, and in those younger years, group presentations are so heavily weighted on everything. So I became the go-to dude for all the smart kids that literally just be reading off of a notepad. I was like, look, dude, just give me the info and let me set this presentation off. Right? So you have super smart kids that want like the straight outcast in the group because they're like, shit, we're gonna get an A+ on our presentation.
That's tight.
You know what I'm saying? So, but at that time, I knew I was like, all right, this is how we're gonna game this shit. You know what I mean? Y'all using me, I'm using you. This is a beautiful scenario. Right?
That's tight.
And that even went through college, bro. Like cats would just be crazy with their notes, and you just be like, look, dude, like, I'll be in your group. I'll do this work. You guys do the models and the Excel sheets and all that. Just privy me up to the info. If you want me to handle your slides too, I got you. Just make me sound like I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'll speak to the professor like we doing a business deal.
That's so tight.
Just the gift of gab, Nushi.
Did art like really continue starting after the 5th grade?
So
y'all went first.
So that was like
y'all mothers must have been so proud.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It must have been like what restaurant did y'all hit after? You know what I'm
I
saying?
don't remember. The thing is, like, looking back, like I have all those pictures. I'm like, wait, like this was legit like a art exhibit, and we're just like these little kids missing teeth. Like it's just like we're like little kids with these adults. Like it was crazy.
Wow, I cannot wait to see these.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that was 5th grade. 4th or 5th grade, and then so going into junior high, I was making a shift between. I was still a hooper, but I really was getting into music. And went from slam magazines. Now I'm collecting Vibe, Source,
Double XL.
Well,
no,
not because I didn't want to. Double XL, they had the booty ads in the back.
I got you.
The parental advisory was a little. And I've always, even still to this day, like I always read them from the back. So you start with the booty mag, like
the classified ads, random.
He had the Double XL subscription, but it was ordered to his neighbor's apartment. And he's just like
smart man.
He was just waiting for the mailman to come.
If only we were so clever then. You know what I mean?
That's a cheat code.
That is a cheat code.
So I made the transition from doing basketball images to like rap artists or whatever.
Wild.
And I had a collaborator.
Was it the same context, like portrait and background?
Exactly. So same thing. Like I remember, what is it? Like when No Limit, like some of the No Limit guys was on some, like I think a Source magazine.
Wow.
And I drew them all mystical. Can't remember most of the names.
Yeah.
But I drew them all.
Mystical,
Masterpiece, C Murder, Mystical.
C Murder was definitely on that cover then.
Yeah, Silk the Shocker.
Shout out.
Maya was like in the background, just like humming.
Oh yeah, that's wait. Actually, I drew one with Maya and Silk the Shocker wearing jerseys.
Word.
And I had a collaborator at that time too. Shout out to Kendra Morris.
What was it?
Kendra. It was a
Kendra
girl.
Morris.
So we collaborated on images.
I thought it was Kenver Morris. I was like, damn, bro, you getting these eclectic. You got Daniel Lieber, you got Kenver Morris. Shout out to Kendra Morris.
Kendra Morris, and so this was like the start also when I started to get into fashion as well. And so what I used to do was in 6th grade, I came up with the idea for Renwear.
Got it.
Everyone on my family called me Ren, and which is shortening Lorenzo, so they call me Ren. Okay. So like, I came up with this idea to make Renwear.
So gotcha.
Whoever like was on the cover of the magazines, I will always draw them in Renwear.
Got it.
So that was kind of like the start of me kind of like thinking of my own brand without even knowing it.
And combining it with the art you were already doing.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of like, those were like the preliminary stages.
That's interesting. And were you taking art more seriously at that time? Or was it still like the nucleus? Or were you thinking about really jumping maybe into fashion or maybe into music?
Well, no. I mean, I took it seriously in a sense of like, that's all I did. But it was I never thought of it as a career.
Yeah.
Like at that time, I still,
what
like you couldn't have told me that I wasn't going to go to college for basketball or the NBA. Like I was a hooper.
But what was
that was still.
You know, that was my love. That's
that
my
was still,
first love, basketball.
What was it about fashion that even made you go to that length of starting Renwear, right? Like what inspired you to be able to start creating this? Because like to go from like conceptually to actually pursuing it, even in whatever form it is, there has to be like a really kind of a strong attachment, if you will, no?
Yeah. I think I've always just like, I always understood the concept of just wanting to be my own boss.
Got it.
And just.
You know where that came from?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, I know that my grandmother, well, in terms of like background on my grandmother, she was a huge seamstress. She did stuff for a lot of stars.
Got it. So
my
you
dad,
were seeing this going on?
Yeah, I was around it, but it wasn't like, it was
registering.
Just lifestyle. I was there, but it wasn't registering in terms of like, I wasn't picking up on the sense like I want to do this.
Yeah.
At least not consciously, at least. It was all subconscious. And even like with my dad had he had some brands of his own or whatever. Still, it just wasn't registering. I think when I actually met Carl Kanai when I was younger, and I had a conversation. I don't remember.
Carl Kanai is that dude, bro.
Can we go to that moment?
Yeah.
He just said Carl Kanai.
Carl Kanai was that dude, though. You talk to even like kids in this day and age, like Carl Kanai has like come across these cats that like are doing it in the game, but like has been an inspiration to them. Like I remember rocking Kanai all day back in the day. He was such an innovator.
And I think also just seeing like how, again, I was young. It has to have been like 6th grade. Just seeing how transparent he was, and just like also fly at the same time.
Yeah.
And just like, just admiring him. Like, man,
what was it about his transparency? Because that's really critical of like people in that stature.
Well, the thing, I didn't understand the difference. Like I'm looking back, I'm speaking from like I know what it feels like for someone to kind of be like standoffish and cold versus like just remembering like how nice he was. Maybe it was because I was a kid or I don't know, but he was like he was really receptive to me as a kid, he was like little man, you could do it. Like, and that, I think that I don't know if that triggered anything, but I know from there.
So you're just getting hit on all subconscious levels then, bro.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I still was a hooper.
Yeah.
100%.
Did those ever conflict each other? Because with like you don't, at least when you get into high school, you know how there can kind of be a divide between athletics and the arts, or it just starts to be more defined as you start to enter high school.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. It was actually closer to when I was exiting high school. When it started to like, when I start to question and kind of like look at things differently. One, I didn't go to a good sports high school. I went to an academic high school.
Okay.
And actually probably started with 9th grade, to be honest with you, in terms of just like my idea of basketball, because I was always extremely passionate about it, and I think I always played better. In situations that was not pressured.
Oh, okay.
Like pickup games and like playing against grown men, and just like. But when I got into the game, just thinking about like messing up and not really playing my real game. Like, dude, I was way better than I played a lot of times on the court, and I think it started in 9th grade when I. Initially, I know what happened. Initially, I didn't make the team in ninth grade because the coach said I was too much of a street baller.
What is
Oh,
that even?
wow.
I was too much. Like I was too fancy. Like I was too much. I was just playing my game.
He saw an and one VHS and was like,
But like,
You're not gonna be skipped to my Lewin around here, bro.
it's like I would like for a non-athletic high school.
Yeah, bro.
Talking about your 9th grade freshman
you.
basketball
But I
team.
was-
He's like the science magnet school. He's like,
I would be like, no, get more street ballers. Like, we need you guys.
But the thing is, I was out there busting ass. I was looking like, because I was going for varsity, and I was like, I was out there really competing with the guys. And I think he was just too conservative. He didn't understand. So I think from that, I think that changed. Like I was thinking too much when I got in the game. I'm messing up, making like terrible mistakes. So I think my passion for basketball started its decline in 9th grade.
oh wow,
That's so sad.
And then I got on the team eventually, but it was almost kind of like that first impression of just like a bad taste in my mouth. We kind of just kept going down, and then we got a new coach.
That shows the importance of these types of figures in people's lives.
Right.
Like the coach is the gatekeeper at that point.
Right.
You don't got anyone else unless you're playing in AAU teams
Right.
and like different traveling teams. That coach is either going to have a self-fulfilling prophecy for you one way or another.
Right.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And also, it was like to experience coming up when you're kind of like, I wouldn't say the golden child, but you experience all these wins.
Yeah.
And then to kind of like, when you're about to really compete at a new level, for it to kind of be like a door, it was just like a shift. Like, whoa, I'm not used to this. But I fought through it, but it just, I know, I'm just thinking back, I know that was probably the decline of like my passion for basketball.
It's so interesting because he could have phrased that so differently.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm not trying to like harp on what this coach said.
Yeah.
It just it bothers me to hear that he messed with something that was so such your passion. Because if you say you're too much of a street baller, if anything, if I was a coach, or I don't know, I'm just talking out loud, but
You
it's
are
like,
a coach, Joe.
I'm a coach, man. Like embrace that.
Yeah.
And then add to it. But
Exactly.
He took it away from you.
Exactly.
So you jumped.
He made it like a bad thing, and I'm like,
so you jumped in these games like, oh wait, I'm not now I have to fit into this other box. Then actually be yourself and improve on the qualities you have.
Yeah.
Maybe get more, technique or.
But at the same time, we're talking about like you're trying to get on a varsity team.
No, I
in
know.
9th grade,
I
right?
know.
It's not like he didn't make the freshman team
Yeah.
because he was too much of a street baller and then they killed his hopes. You know what I mean? But like again, in these types of figures, it all could be done differently. You know what I mean? But it's wild for me that like okay, hooping, and then this was the beginning of the demise in basketball for you.
yeah.
Was there did something else pick up right away, or was something else blossoming in the midst as it was going,
Yeah,
or
I think
like
fashion? 16, that first job at Up Against the Wall.
okay? Because the reason I bring that up, right, is because like you hear stories about like the Michaels and all these cats like didn't make the JV team and these types of things, and they coming back ready to just blap on a coach.
Very true.
Right? But they're also, in my head, I'm just trying to think, like, subconsciously, was there something else that was, like, also brewing to where it's like, you know what? Yes, I'm not in this situation to where this is going to go on, and maybe I want to explore some other things as opposed to ball being all of life.
Right.
Was that, like, brewing, or was it just...
I don't know if it was brewing, but I do think that there was it was definitely like a shift.
Got it.
Or like a wake up of consciousness, like, oh, this is actually like when I started working at Up Against the Wall and I saw like just interacting with the different stylists and interacting with other people, it just showed me a different side. Like there's actually other possibilities in this industry that I may have interest in. So I know that the shift really started probably in 11th grade.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
I was still playing basketball. But it was definitely like instead of only like applying to like schools that for sports, or not sports, but just applying to schools that had good sports teams. I'm like looking at like who has a fashion program, who like I literally like the shift really took place around that time.
Were you always a kid that put himself together well? Like what was that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That was dad. That was dad 100%.
Take us there.
And again, I think
I wish y'all could see that big ass smile just come into play.
I think again, so much stuff like I reflect so much. So at the time, I didn't appreciate it. I was always fresh, but I think my dad is a great example of maturity in terms of just like delivery. When he had my mom and dad had me at 22, 23.
Wow, very young.
Yeah.
Jeez.
22, 23,
That's
married,
wild.
everything like it, 22, 23. So up until if he was 23. Whenever he had my sister, 14 years later, whatever the math is, 14 years
36,
later,
37,
like that was a better. By the time my sister came along, he was way more. He had more patience. It was just like a different person.
Yeah,
he was more mature. So
because he's gone through the experience of raising
exactly
a kid that he didn't know what the hell was going on with the first.
So. To rewind a little bit with me, I think his delivery a lot of times was just like brash, and it was just like nah, man, we don't do that, we don't wear that.
Got it.
My mom, I remember specifically, my mom, like literally, like my mom. And that was another thing. Even with them, like they wasn't to go back to like my upbringing. They weren't the most mature, and even with handling each other and handling me, I was the middleman a lot of times.
Yeah,
sure.
You know, just so that's why I said I was always aware of different of people's emotions, because I was always trying to monitor. Okay, I can't have this person here because my dad, like, always managing way too much than I had to as a kid.
Yeah.
So I remember my great grandmother, my mom's grandmother on my mom's side. We used to go to the mall. At the time, I didn't mind wearing what kids wore, like, you know, the light up shoes. My dad was like a brand person.
I feel you.
He was like, nah,
we don't do that around here.
He used to call them bubble yums. You ain't gonna wear those bubble yums over here. We about to go get you some Jordans, some Shaqs. That's when Shaq was with Reebok. Like, you about to get fly. So that was like conditioning. Like, but like
he brought back the Shaqs.
Yeah, like that was like conditioning. It's like, okay, so again, like how like most things, like I've always been the type of person, like, I don't have to be told more than once for it to actually pick up and become, like, for me to, like, I didn't really have to get spankings. Like, if I saw it happen, I would kind of make adjustments. So I've always kind of been like that. So going back to, like, just not wanting to hear him, you know, talk about me, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just became more conscious of my appearance.
Got it.
Again, like, I think it was the delivery was bad, but I'm so appreciative of it now because
it started to refine your preferences.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, but it was all like I know that he planted that seed, and my dad is like super fresh.
I feel
at 51, like he is.
I feel you.
Definitely. I'll be telling these ladies like, this is what you have to look forward to when I'm 51.
I feel you.
That is the blueprint, you know. So
he set the standard for
absolutely
you at a young age.
It's so wild for me to think of, like, being able to reflect now, but also I think it's really important. Like, you were raised by kids in terms of adulthood, right?
Technically, yeah.
Because like we think about it now, like, bro, could we imagine right when we graduate college having a kid, being married? Like, figuring out our lives at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like then was any different where, okay, careers were established. It may have been a little different, like, in terms of society, but the mind at 22, 23, right? The world ahead of them at 22, 23, and also the responsibility of raising a kid. Like, our generations now are way, like, at that 30 level of, like, okay, it's respectable. Like,
right.
We can start having our life together at 28 to 32 and start having kids.
Absolutely.
It's wild to just think of the insane pressures that our parents went through,
right?
Like, in reflection, right? But how special all these different things are. Because had they not been, who knows who you'd become, right? And it's really special to me to just see that like dynamic between child and parent, because I grew up in a household where, you know, my parents fought a shitload, but the one thing that they had in common was me, right? And what I started to realize more and more as I was able to really kind of understand and appreciate the nuances was they loved each other, they just couldn't communicate, right? So they always tried to stay together. For me, broke up, got back together, broke up, got back together, broke up, got back together. But in doing that, that was very formative in who I became, because I was always the new kid in a different school. I was always the funny fat kid, right? Chubby and cute as hell. Feel me? Had hair back then. Feel me? But like, I had always been a new kid, and I was also empathetic to what it felt like to be the new kid, right? As opposed to, because I felt so much love at home, even though they were fighting all the time, they showed me love, right? But like, I think that's what allowed me to kind of be willing to be open to new circumstances, but also be in tune enough with my emotions to like respect people and what their feelings are. Like when little kids are getting picked on, I wasn't the bully in the popular group that was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Right. It was like, yo, bro, chill. Like, are you okay?
I mean, what you're saying, that like that was my experience as well, just in terms of just being aware of everyone's, I think, like just emotions and everything, just having empathy, because I was managing so much. Yeah. Just with, I feel like my parents, just like my dad will give me a message to tell my mom. Yeah. Trust me. Oh my God. The way he told me.
You watered it
100%. Or vice versa.
Vice versa, yeah.
You know, it's like,
straight up.
Or act like it wasn't like always just trying to like.
Find the middle ground.
Exactly. That was stressful, man. Yeah. That was stressful. Like, I mean, I didn't really.
But looking at it now, would you have had it any other way?
Technically, no. But I would have wished that they were a little more mature. The only way I would have had it is that I would have tried to stay a kid. Got it. It made me grow up a little bit quicker. Absolutely. Because I was too aware of like the things that were going on, I think. And some moments I didn't enjoy because I was managing the room or trying to manage. Yeah. You know, as if these weren't adults that couldn't handle it, you know?
Absolutely.
What were your friends like?
Man.
I like that.
I don't know, man. Like friendships has always been like a hard thing for me, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. I've come a long way, but I think I've had a lot of trust issues because I think I've always been that person that gave more and got less, especially in friendships.
And explicitly felt that.
100%. Because, okay, so starting with like junior high, not junior high, elementary. So you go, I started as one particular, El Rincon in Culver City, second grade. So you go second grade all the way through fifth grade, establishing these great relationships. You see these kids every day. And then God forbid you guys don't go to the same junior high. It was always me that was trying to keep those relationships going, reaching out, and just always, and it seemed like I was always like left behind. And that happened on every stage. Wow. From like junior high, same thing. We all go to different high schools, trying to keep everyone together. Same with high school. The people I talk to now from high school, it's so weird that I talk to them because they weren't like, actually two people, two girls that I talked to that were actually like I hung out with. But outside of that, the people that I like probably have fights with, all these things that had like some really serious moments with, don't talk to at all.
It's wild because I think back and I'm like, bro, like I don't talk to anybody really
from my past,
elementary school because like I grew up in the Bay.
Right.
There's a few kids that I do, but it's just like in passing, casual convo, or like just like on Instagram we found each other like, yo, what's good? Tell your dad I said what's up. It may be a genuine love for like what we had when we were kids, but it was crazy to me to just kind of think about it. I was like, damn, like I'm so different than some of these dudes. Like we were such best friends, right? But like we're so different now.
Right.
Did you feel that for you that you were different or the odd? Were you ever like the oddball of the group or anything like that?
No, never. I was actually always popular.
Okay.
But I always say by default, because at kids, when you're kids, it's not too many things that you have like a small scale that you know. I'm not the worst looking guy, so the girls kind of like me. I can dress, had cool shoes,
so like
new gear, like. So I was like popular. I mean, it wasn't like a huge determining thing. So I was kind of always popular by default. However, it just never cared. I feel like I was always like there for fun. No one really cared outside of like, oh, he can dance, or he knows all the girls. Like it was never like, it was always surface. It was never like, how's he really feeling?
Absolutely.
But
I feel like in those times also like it is very surface, right? Like you think about high school especially, like all the cool kids in high school, rarely do the cool kids in high school stay cool. That's like, it boggles my mind.
Yeah, you often like...
rarely do these cool kids stay cool. Like a lot of the cool kids are still in the same city their high school's in. Right? You may be fortunate enough to live in LA and like you're able to explore, but like even with my high school, like the cool kids, I was really friends with all different types of groups. Mm-hmm. And, there was like a group of friends of mine back in I remember this vividly, junior year, it started to be like, okay, you're not getting invited to the football games by your squad, right? Cats are acting a little weird, but I'm an outspoken dude, so I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on, right? Like, I'm hearing y'all out here, this, that, and the other, and these assholes had the audacity to be like, look, bro, when we go out, you just get way too much attention. So if you want to kick it with us, like, you're just going to need to change and, like, calm down. And I'm like, wait, am I getting too much attention in a bad way? Or it's just like, you can't handle people, like, fucking with me, right? And they're like, the latter, right?
Right.
So at that moment, like, I just had a Pac moment. I was like, well, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Y'all all can go get fucked. Right. And then I became like really just like bouncing around. Right. But all of those kids, sans like one or two, were like in community college for 8 years, like still in the same fucking area in Mission Viejo, like living a great, you know what I'm saying, suburban life, married with kids. But like it trips me out because there's such a superficialness to us as like kids, but like some of us just start becoming earlier than others. But it changes when you get into adulthood, because adulthood is when you really, or like even like college and beyond, because you really start figuring out who you are and going towards your focuses. And naturally you just see that, like, even from college, bro, like I look back, how many of the homies from college am I really kicking it with on a daily basis? None.
Right.
It's wild.
Yeah, same. I do know like two things. So I know that like my I've always valued friendship, and and just looking at it now, like I think that aspect of me has always been the same. Like I think because I've always troubled with it, so I always try to nurture relationships, which probably leads now like why like certain things I avoid, like mixers and all that shit that's kind of like preface around like what do you networking like I avoid all that stuff because I actually value relationships. And people always say everybody, but the way I came into knowing people is not, I'm not passing out business cards.
Sure.
I'm not like,
hey bro, let's break bread, dog. I really like what you do.
I don't use words like build and shit like that. I'm not.
I feel you.
I say connect, but like let's build. We should collaborate. That's not how I.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially not when I first meet you.
Yeah.
Like some people
Straight
say,
up.
"What's your name, Lorenzo?" Oh yeah, we should build. We should work. Like whoa, you don't even know what I do yet.
Yeah.
Well, you look cool.
Exactly. It's like, bro, is you real right now? You don't know how many people even like in the music, like in my music grind, it's like, yo, dog, Noosh, I heard you like get it done and all that, and like this dude talks well about you, that dude, like, yo, bro, let's break bread, dog. And I'm just like, bro, literally. But for me, it's like, again, see, this is the thing with cats like us, all of us here, right? We're very in tune with ourselves, right? So it's kind of like we kind of get to that point of like, damn, like, how do I put this lightly, or like, no, I don't want to fuck with you. I'm not gonna like pussyfoot around this.
Right.
But with cats, regardless of what their stature was, hey, if you're a dude with prominence and you're telling me let's build, you don't know who the fuck I am. I'm like, my standard response is, bro, how the fuck are we gonna break bread when I haven't even invited you to the fucking crib yet?
Right.
The
Right.
metaphorical crib.
Right.
You haven't. We don't even know each other for me to let your bitch ass in the crib.
Right.
We're also
Nor are you even friendly enough with me to be at the dinner table.
Right.
So where the fuck did the bread come from?
Right.
You aren't even close to getting to the bread for us to be even attempting to break the shit.
Tell me about it.
Right?
Well, it's crazy because I mean we're in an industry where that's so common. You know,
Right.
It breeds it, right?
Hey, no, dog, you dress so nice,
it
dog.
just,
like,
it just does.
you a
I mean,
stylist or something?
look,
Let's build, bro.
I consider myself like I'm pretty. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm pretty low key. Like a lot of my friends. See, I've known my friends either through some since I was 5 years old, and some since high school. That's pretty much it. Like all, the kids I went to elementary school, to middle school, to high school, even my friends from college.
Now, where are you from?
LA.
Oh, that's dope. Okay.
Yeah, born and raised in
Beverly Hills High.
Beverly Hills
He's
High.
like
Wow.
your LA kid. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
I admire stories like that. 'Cause I
here's
cannot
the thing.
relate, but I really admire. Yeah.
Oh, and I asked the question about the friends. Like, from my perspective, my closest friends in that are my brothers. None are in music. I've been a musician. I'm in the music business, but none are actually in music. They're just like my friends from growing up. For you, I asked a question about friends because when I think about my closest relationships started from those young ages, right? When it wasn't so clicked out. It wasn't so like the athletes stay with the athletes, the skaters stay with the skaters. The real friendships kind of connected at a young age and then built to adulthood. And for you, as you're transitioning from being an athlete to getting into the fashion world, I'm so curious to see like the people you surround yourself with and how that kind of affected that next step for you. Because I'll bring it back here and I'll keep it kind of short. In high school, I was like in the skater crew, right? Like in middle school, in 6th grade, I was just super into skateboarding, really into music. I was really into art. I wanted to be an animator. Like drew cartoons every single day. In high school,
That's wild.
dude. This is crazy. I have books of cartoons, like straight like the pages where you flip and stuff and they animate.
Oh shit, that's tight.
Yeah. But I went to high school and you had to kind of pick a side, right? And so the kids I grew up with from like 6th to 8th grade that were skateboarders, just innocent kids skating. Then in high school, you're kind of in that crew. But I was also an athlete at the same time. And the skater kids, I stopped fucking with because I just felt they were super degenerates. They were getting into drugs. I wasn't into drugs. It just like it didn't fuck with kind of like how I felt. And for me, it was a really transitional time to figure that out. I was like, all right, I'm not going to be this identity anymore. It just doesn't fit. I'm going to go to the sports side. And I just like jumped on the track team and then met.
That's dope.
Yeah, it's track, right? And then which led to football, then like wrestling and shit like that. But it was a way I met my best friend even to this day, my boy Amir. Met him during that transition. Like I was like, I just need to latch on to somebody, and we met from fucking making fun of the same kid, just like joking around, but on track. Now, hearing about your transitional time from like hoop is life, I figured part of your friends come from that kind of like hoop is life mentality. That's what I would assume.
Right. Well, so, and I'm like really trying to like think back, but like no one is consistent. None of my
so
earlier friendships have been consistent. The only people, I'm extremely family oriented. Like family is everything to me.
Yeah.
So the consistency has come from family, both sides. And like I said, the dynamics are different. My dad's side is a little more youthful. I had an aunt and uncle that were young.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up with them, just spending time with both of them. Then I had cousins later on who wasn't, I'm 10 years older than the oldest cousin. And then on my mom's side, I was the oldest brother, and it's a smaller family. But the family has always been extremely, that's where all the consistency has come, and that the most support. However, to go back to, like, there was a shift. I'm kind of like, because I don't think about this stuff. It's so far removed from who I was, but I had like a really interesting time, especially growing up in South LA, where just like you study, you have to know, you have to be book smart, but also street smart.
Mm-hmm.
It was like imperative for survival. So, stuff that even like going back to my dad used to always get on me and stuff like I didn't appreciate at the time, or I didn't understand at the time because of just the delivery.
Yeah.
But he always used to say, he got me onto like, make sure your back is not against the door. Like all these little things that I picked up on that I felt like he was just like
picking on me. Yeah.
But he was really prepping me. He was really prepping me.
It's insane what the delivery can do.
Oh, 100%. It could be a perfect message.
Did that kind of build you of, okay, your dad did it this way. You understood that, you started getting that it was all positive, but you also realized, okay, Dad, you didn't deliver it well, which is why I couldn't receive it well at that point.
Well, both parents.
Parents. Did that transform how you delivered? Because you seem like a very, with us, like, you are a very deliberate person.
Right.
Like, your words have purpose and your words have meaning. What you say, you mean. But at the same time, you're delicate with how you say certain things.
I think my senses are definitely heightened because of I know how it affected me growing up.
Yeah.
And just like how, and my mom used to, even with my mom used to get so mad at me because I would come home and tell her something with enthusiasm that I learned from a teacher that she had been telling me all this time. It was like, but you was yelling at me, so it didn't even come off. So she used to get so mad because I would tell her stuff that she had already told me, but I didn't process it the same way. So part of like just my upbringing, just having to have, especially also, it was also a huge conflict of interest when you're in the fashion and you're trying to, or not in fashion, I was just like in the style.
Yeah.
It wasn't even about fashion, it was about being fresh,
Yeah.
really.
Yes. Yeah.
Being the freshest kid.
Yeah.
So I followed the trends, and the trends was usually set by whichever hip hop artist I was into.
Absolutely.
From Velour. So whatever that time was.
Velours, boy.
I hung with the best.
Yeah.
I was a happy participant in the culture.
Yeah, I feel you.
So it was a conflict because a lot of the influences came from the East Coast, where the dynamic was totally different.
Yeah.
You seeing all these weird colors and stuff on TV. You can't necessarily partake in that because you have to be aware of what this color indicates in this color when you go here. You have
That's
to be
where the street smarts come
exactly.
in.
So it's like not only having to know, 5 times 5. Also know when I'm in the 20s.
Yeah.
This is this gang.
Yeah.
Knowing what those numbers translate, or like this is, you can't wear this hat. You can't even like. I'm just telling this with my boy Russell. You actually know Russell, I think. So
What up,
we were just talking about this, about like just how, like growing up, especially during like the whole Jersey scene or Jersey trend, like the throwbacks. You couldn't even get like the matching hat because that hat was synonymous with one gang or whatever. So it's like damn, it's throwing off my outfit. I need the hat. I need the hat to match. Shit, I got the matching shoes, but the hat. I had braids I was a totally different person. And I was like, between 13 and 15, I was really going down the wrong path. Wholeheartedly.
Really?
100%.
Hold on. Yeah,
why the wrong path?
Hanging around with the wrong people. And just
was that street life starting to be attractive to you, or was it more like you were just around those kids?
It was I don't think it was ever really attractive. I think some of it was survival. Which I think a lot of people, some of the initial reasons why they may get involved in gangs is for survival.
Wow. That's insane.
I used to get banged on all the time.
Really?
And I've had guns pulled on me. My first time having a gun pulled on me was in the library.
Shut the fuck up.
So let me tell you what that does to you.
What was that?
In the library?
Yeah.
In high school or middle school?
Junior high.
Junior high. Yeah.
What the hell happened?
And let me tell you, I was at the library across the
Were
street.
you in the south side of Chicago at that time? Like what?
Technically, I mean, I was across the street from USC when it was that library.
Wow.
That's right where the Brims, which is a huge blood gang.
Yes.
For whatever reason, the fucking library was their kick-it spot. It's like, fuck. I mean, pick one. God damn it. You gonna study or you gonna bang? Which one is it? I'm at the, so like I'm at the computer, I'm at the keyboard, and I just sensed it. And my mom is in the library.
Your mom's there too.
But it's no awareness of what's happening because when you're a kid and your parents send you off to school, they don't really know. Especially, and it's worse in certain areas, but they don't know what you may go through. In school. So, I sensed it. I knew that something bad was about to happen. I felt it. Like I sensed him coming up to me. I sensed him coming up to me. I'm at the keyboard, computer, and he like went through the whole thing. Like, where you from? And like literally, like he sat next to me and showed me the gun and like. What's up? Like, and just like really, but trying to be not cordial, but also trying to be tactful because he's in the library, but also still getting his
bang on you like
still
that.
getting his point getting his point across.
The library bang.
Wow. So that was like the first one.
So how did it end? So keep going.
Let me ask you this from somebody that grew up in that environment, right? Mm-hmm. And this has always been a thing for me. It's like. I've had one experience with that with somebody. I'm just like in the wrong place. I'm like, where you from? And I literally thank God they let me go from my super perplexed reaction. I was like, I'm from San Jose, dog. What you talking about? So they see a Persian kid. They're like, all right, bro, we'll let him go, right? But in communities like that, having to deal with like getting banged on or what's your set or where y'all from. And you guys growing up in that environment where you know that like a response can trigger something, right? Like what the fuck?
Or
a non-response.
Non-response. That's so, like
so what the
damn
fuck?
if you do, damn if you don't. Really, in some cases.
So how do you bypass that? Like, what, you just got to be lucky?
Yeah, I think. I mean, there's no answer. I got one that wasn't willing to press the issue even further. Yeah, I've had situations where. It has been pressed further. And I think that was one of the initial things, like, where it was happening so frequently. And I'm like, fuck this. Like, I'm like, this is not going to happen to me again because just that defeat that you feel where you feel like you can't do anything. And you just like, I got to take this L. Like, you just, it's like, fuck, like, this L is mine. It doesn't only stand for Lorenzo. Like, this is like an L that I am taking. But when you're processing that, like, during the time, after it happening so many times, you want to find a counter to it. It's like, this is not going to happen.
Wow. So you got to join, or like you got to.
I mean, that was a possibility. I mean, and I don't. This is something I don't really talk about as much, or actually ever really. But like, there was a time, like it was like a 24-hour period. I had a gun just because I was tired of it happening.
Wow, it got there.
Yeah,
Was this still in junior high?
No, this is high school.
So high school.
Like this is ninth, 10th grade. This is right before my shift. Yeah.
So then this is years of going through this.
It was just getting.
It was more I mean, not so much years, but because 6th grade, that's kind of like that's when you start getting exposed to stuff. Especially because when I went to Marina Del Rey, I started Marina Del Rey. I started the year when they started their magnet program inside of a public school. Yeah. So that they were busing in all the kids from different parts, but we were still part of the public school. So just seeing that dynamic where I was being exposed coming from Culver City school district to now, which is LA School Unified. Yeah. Although it was in Culver City, that's a weird thing too.
Oh, that little Culver pocket?
No, it was called, the school name is Marina Del Rey. It's a LAUSD, but it's in Culver City. It's like, what the fuck? Anyways, so like all these kids were being bussed in from different areas. And it's kind of like just bringing all these different worlds.
Yes.
So I was being exposed. Like I had never been exposed to so much. My junior high years, specifically 6th grade, I was exposed to drugs. I was exposed to sex. I was exposed to all these things happening on campus.
Yeah.
So it was like a mind fuck. I was like, what is this? So it started then. That's when I started like learning about like just different, like really learning and having to be aware of like different gangs, because a lot of the kids' older brothers or whomever was active.
Got it.
So just like being aware, like you can't mess with that kid because he got his big brother, such and such.
Yeah.
He may come up, and so you just like, and that's also when I started learning how to like to politic, like just knowing how to like really, you know,
what the implications are, like
exactly
even further.
Exactly.
Because I feel like a lot of the hotheads too, like even the rascal little brothers are the ones that know that they got like the big bro waiting for, or like the cousin that's over there. So they just spouting off. Well, fuck you then. You want to come step to me then? You know who the fuck I am?
Yeah.
More some random in passing. This little like pit bull gets fucking upset, and then next thing you know, you got the brother that you never knew existed coming at you, and you're just like, whoa, dog. Damn, it got that serious. But I wanna touch on this point because I would have never thought this, and this is gorgeous to me. What made you in that 24 hours? And I want to know what the fuck was going through your head and what the thoughts were going in your mind at that time, right? What made you acquire the gun and like have it for this 24 hours and then realize like, yo, hold up, like this isn't gonna happen.
I mean, it's really that simple. It was like
natural train of thought.
Yeah, just like it's like this is not me.
Yeah,
this is not me. There's a different way.
It's crazy.
Even I didn't necessarily say that there's a different way, but just that feeling of just like knowing that you're not for something. Like it wasn't natural.
You will not spray off. Like,
yeah, it's just like it just was not. So it was like
you'd be brandishing it like if you were forced on a crazy moment, but like you'd never even want to just blap off.
Exactly. So also like at the time, because I had cornrows, I was wearing all the hip hop clothing. Yeah. So all those stereotypes.
Yeah. You were just fitting molds left 100%. And right.
Even if I wasn't active, I still was drawing the wrong attention.
Got it.
So I think part of that, just looking at it from like, just taking a step back and looking at it like, maybe it's me. Although, I mean, that's not really the case. That wasn't my real thought, but like, that was part of it.
But maybe my decisions are putting myself, or maybe what I'm doing is putting myself in a situation where I'm more susceptible.
Yes. And that's when I start really like reevaluating my friend. I kind of and it's funny, we was talking about Kanye earlier, but he literally, I think that's why so many people love him, or love him, and that's why so many people are really disheartened by what's going on. Because I remember specifically in 2004 when he came out, and how I was already like, in my mind, I knew that my sensibilities were, or my aesthetic was shifting anyway, and the stuff I was interested in. Yeah. But it just was not cool to go all the way there.
And he made it hella cool.
So when he came out with the polo, I was like, oh, fuck this. Let me get on. But the thing is, also the power of power of just also wanting to fit in. It was still like 1 foot in. Yeah. So I was wearing the polo, but I still had the cornrows. Yeah. It was just like that juxtaposition. It was kind of like, after a while, it still was kind of off. I was wearing the Tim boots, but like, it was just off.
Yeah.
So that also with, so at this time, I got into this program. My mom enrolled me in this program, not even really knowing what was going on in my life.
Yeah.
I wasn't like,
it's hard for parents to know.
Yeah. And I wasn't really, I would have a shitty day, or I would just got banged on, or, had a gun pulled on me. Yeah. And you just kind of like, you just act like it's another day.
Yeah.
When you get home.
Internalize the shit out of it.
Exactly. So I, got involved with this one entrepreneurship program. 15, 16, and it was called BOSS. It was an acronym for building on spiritual substances. But it was like it was called BOSS the Movement. It was like teaching entrepreneurship, but also teaching you how to have like a spiritual, allow that spiritual presence to kind of like be the guide of your decisions or whatever.
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
So that mixed with me already reevaluating things, I think that's what really helped my shift.
Wow.
So I was like, so when I started to look back, I'm like, okay, I'm attracting this attention. I've already tried it this way, and this way is rendering these results. Let me switch it up a little bit more and see what happens from there. And when I changed my style, something as simple as like changing I cut off my braids, I made my clothing a little more fitted.
Yeah.
And I think that was the beginning of my shift.
And you started seeing it explicitly that it was
exactly.
Just like
and I think also just the way I carry myself, not having to like try to demand respect.
Yeah.
Or because of the way you look, it was all external.
Yeah.
But instead of it allowing it to be internal, people just saw the confidence.
That's an incredibly liberating
moment.
Oh my God, must be, yeah.
Yeah, man. It was like, and then I just then I got comfortable with just being like the weirdo.
Yeah.
But
straight unicorn,
but always like the one that knew. Like still to this day, I pride myself on being able to be in a situation with like or surrounded by like gangbangers.
Yeah.
But then I can go to Soho House and just and just be the same person on both sides. And I think that started then because even then like
and you'll still have a Mexican Coke at both functions.
Exactly. Like it 100%.
Straight up.
But I think it started then because I was still hanging out with those people, but I also had like another crowd, and the way I was dressing, I was just like attracting me to other people anyway.
Yeah.
So it was still like I was always like the bridge between two worlds.
That's a great place to be, man, especially during that transitional time.
Yeah.
Now jumping into kind of out from basketball and into fashion. I mean, I know basketball is always the core and the root, but as you're going through this whole discovery now, beyond just like, well, I didn't make varsity, but like your style is changing, your identity is changing, you're kind of getting in touch more with who you are. You're working working at the Beverly Center.
That's right.
The Mecca.
At the time.
The Mecca of fashion.
At the time, man.
It really was, though.
It was like...
How did it start shaping those next steps for you in kind of where you were putting your energy towards?
So by that time, I had already... I wouldn't say I given up on basketball, but I was already like... exactly what you said. Next step, I was like already planning a plan B.
So get into that kind of what was going on in your mind.
So it literally started with just like my college choices. Just like, okay, let me see what interests me. So I knew I was into fashion, and I knew that having a clothing line by this time, by the time I was a senior, I had already had several sketches, and Renwear was like solidified.
So Renwear went from just being a part of your art to actually now something real.
Yeah, and it was something that like I'm just like building the content, So from there, I started to just seek, I guess, what fit, like what can actually help me get to that place. And so I started, with FITM, and that became like, instead of like I'm into math, like I'm into fashion. So let me see what schools, like just reading reviews and just reading, like going to different, what do you call it?
Like tours and things like that?
Yeah, exactly.
School tours. And orientations.
Orientations, that's what I'm looking for,
Yeah, orientations. So where'd you end up going?
Okay, so this is funny. So I applied to, another thing that changed me also, in 11th grade going to my senior year, I went on a black college tour, and I went to like Morehouse, Clarkland, all these different like HBCUs. So senior year, by this time I think I was already becoming myself. I was already like I had like a self-awareness. So like at that time, Morehouse was the school that like I felt was aligned with just being a Morehouse man. And on that tour, I brought all this paraphernalia, man. I was like, my senior year of high school, I had on so much Morehouse stuff. Let me tell you,
and you hit the student store hard.
Let me tell you, I spent so much money at the student store. And the thing is, the cool thing was because my school we had to wear uniform, and the Morehouse colors were the same color as my uniform. So it was like really like I was able to wear the fitted. I was like I was finessing it, and my ass ended up at Northridge. Oh shit! How do you? How you like? You know, which was actually like a really great experience. Oh, yeah. But just like that build up, like I just no one could have took.
I assume you didn't get into Morehouse.
No, I got into Morehouse.
Okay.
However, it was way too expensive.
For sure.
And on top of like, okay, so I was a terrible test taker, so the SAT didn't help my chances for financial aid or whatever.
Got it.
So I got accepted, and then on top of that, you also pay an additional tax for the out-of-state fee. So it was just like it wasn't even considerable.
It was like it was like SC price.
Yeah, it's like it wasn't even considerable, and plus it's a private school, so it wasn't even considerable at that time. I was like, okay, I'm gonna transfer in later. I got accepted to quite a few of the college states, but it ended up being Northridge, Fit'em. That ended up being like my two choices that I had to select from. And what
made you go against Fit'em at that time?
I don't know. I think it was just me looking at I spoke with some people who had went to that school.
Because a lot of people that went because when I was at SC, I was running a lot of Fit'em girls and guys, right? And what I started realizing more and more was that a lot of cats go to Fit'em for the 2 years, do some like 2 years like AA program there or some shit, and then go to college again.
Right.
So it's like you over here spending $40K a year trying to be like this fashionista, and then you going back to college.
Right.
Like what the fuck's the point of that?
Well, I think for me because with Fit'em, and coming out of high school, I was so competitive because I overcompensated. Because I was such a terrible test taker, I overcompensated in my extracurriculars, volunteer hours. I had everything down pat. I looked like a philanthropist. Like I had so many volunteer hours.
You were in the Rotary Club.
I was on the chess club.
I feel
coin
you.
Club.
Key club.
I was the editor. The editor for Yearbook.
Of course you were. I respect that. Were you on ASB too?
ASB.
I respect
Let me tell you, I had all this stuff, and then I had a hell of amazing letters of recommendation.
I feel you. So pillars of the community type shit.
So coming out of high school, and I graduated top 10 in my class. So I was like the shit coming out of high school. And what I think what all came down to was really just the money of with this school, I'm not gonna have to pay. I've always been aware of not owing anything. Yeah. So I was I don't want to
come out with
loans.
Sure. Yeah.
So that was why I went to.
It's brutal to come out with loans, bro.
Yeah.
Brutal. Cats don't think about that.
Yeah, man.
Right. When I was 18, my mom was like, "Look, you're," and I come from a well-to-do family. But when I was 18, my mom was like, "Look, I've done all I could as a mother. I've raised you well. You're a great student. You're a great person. But now is the time as a bird, you fly from the nest. I'm always here for you as a mother, but I no longer support you financially." Right? So now you
respect that.
Now you, off top though, because it makes you who you are. She's like, if I helped you financially or even the semblance of you knowing that I'm here to help you financially, right? I'd be killing your potential. Which you damn well believe it would have been, right? So I was like, shit. Well, I was on my law path too. Shit, I'm gonna go to then do this, do that.
I remember that.
You know what I'm saying? But then it became, you know what? Fuck it. Let me see what business is about, and was able to get a scholarship to SC to where I was only paying 15% of what the tuition was.
That's amazing.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So I came out of school with $11K in loans, and I have homies that 3 years at SC, I came out with $11K in loans. I paid my loans off in 2 years.
That's unheard of. Dude.
Unheard of. But seeing my homies and even like their dads that still have loans, I'm just like, bro, cats are putting themselves in ringers if they're not thinking about this, and they have to burden the weight of the financial responsibility. And it's actually an incredible thing that you were able to see that and be like, okay, look, like I need to strategize. And albeit I was in high school, it was super cool, like I was all Morehoused out. If I go through with this, like I'm gonna come out and just be what, $250,000 in debt?
Yeah.
Like hell no.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, loans really kill you.
You have me fucked up with that. Like hell no.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, literally, these were conversations I was like, that's cool that Dr. Martin Luther King went there, but it's like I was literally like I was canceling. I was like, this is not even like an option now.
How was
at least not this year?
How was your experience at CSUN? Like, what started to develop for you? Like, or was it just like, did you treat it as the commuter school? So was it like, okay, I'm gonna go to CSUN, it's close, I'm gonna come back, working here, doing this, and like gaining experience outside of college, or did college have a transformative experience for you?
I think by this time, especially freshman year, I really knew what I wanted to do. So I think the first couple of years of CSUN was rough because it was like that restraint of like me fighting against my passions and like also trying to
holding you back.
School was 100% holding me back.
So
but also trying to please mom.
Yeah,
gotta finish.
So many people are in that position.
Gotta finish.
Yeah,
you have to. What was in your passion at this time? What you wanted to do was that Renwear?
Well, I mean, it was just like design or whatever.
Okay, so you're still super fashion.
Yeah.
Now you're like real serious about it.
So now it has shift from Renwear to at this time I reconnected with one of my friends from elementary school.
Shout out to Daniel Lieberman.
You feel me?
Actually, this time it was Benzel Evans.
Dope. So, shout out to. I feel like I feel like the
Benzel
collaborators,
Evans the third,
like collaborators in your lifetime have come from such righteous and like.
So at this time I was the manager at Up Against the Wall. Freshman year.
Okay.
I was.
So you had what, 2-3 years in?
What, working with the company or wait?
Up Against the Wall.
Yeah, I worked with the company like 3 years.
Got it. So you're a manager now.
I was a manager because they transferred me from the Beverly Center, and they had just opened up the Northridge store.
Got it.
At the Northridge Mall.
That's a fucking ginormous mall.
So I was one of the managers, and Benny came in. I was like, oh, Benny. So I got him a job, and I got another homie a job, and we realized that we shared a lot of the same interests, and was like, let's give this a shot. And we developed this line. At the time, we was really ahead of our time, and it was called Marty McFly with the eye. We have. I still have
that's lit though.
I have these designs. Just that development process was amazing. However, that's when I realized that partnership was not for me.
Why?
Well, at the time we was on two different paths, and I think
was it like business wise? Was it creative wise?
No, the creativity was always there. I just think business wise and just realizing that
expectation,
and I was. This is all stuff I understand now. At the time, I wanted to fight. Like, dude, like I'm spending this. Like, it was you're not putting in what I'm putting in.
Oh, the sweat equity issue.
Yeah, it was just like that's what it was. I mean, I get it now.
Yeah.
But then it was like, we
had that same shit in college at SC with the entrepreneurship program. Because for me, I was starting a clothing line through SC, but like that was just because I met 3 really dope designers from FITM, put them together, had this like aspiration of starting a clothing line. I literally would draw them stick figures, dog. Like it was like literally, it was, you look at it and you're like, wait, they fucked with you? But I'd be drawing these stick figures, they'd be coming back with these ill-ass designs. But then you'd have 2 of the designers wouldn't do shit. One of them was like rallying the group. Then I had 2 boys working with me that like, they wanted to be down. But you just start to realize like, you're like, bro, if I'm doing all the work, like what the fuck are y'all really doing?
Yeah, that's what that's literally, that was it right there. That was it right there. I think that just realizing.
But it's good to happen early.
Yeah. I mean, and we were young and not even like. It kind of soured our relationship a little bit.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was a couple things that happened, but like I think that was like one of the things that really put a bad taste in my mouth,
Yeah.
towards him or whatever. But it started with that, and that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And what was your direction though? Like, because if a partnership doesn't work, I mean, you're obviously working hard, you're creating and wanting to make this happen. What was the bigger picture for you?
I think I think the bigger picture is always, I think I've always understood the power of ownership. And I think I've always wanted to own my whatever it was. So just having ownership. So I think for me, I had it mapped out. Like, it was just like, I'm going to have a store here. It's always like have like my own empire. Yeah. I think that's always been my idea. And still to this day. And in some capacity, it's just like the power of ownership. And I've gotten really close in certain instances, and just, I'm still working towards that. Like, I think it's always been ownership for me.
Now, was it hard? So when you split that partnership up, right?
Yeah.
And you started doing stuff on your own?
Yes.
Now, do you feel more?
Did you guys still work together?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, we just try to become friends.
Yeah.
But I think it was just,
it's just done at that point.
Yeah.
Now, coming from someone who does, you have told many times you are super collaborative with people. Some of your best work has come doing it with other people. Was it difficult, or do you feel less creative solo, or do you feel, kind of talk about the dynamic of wanting to do this on your own now? Because I go back to Mr. Lieberman and, combining two genius minds together to make something truly great. Did you have thoughts of seeking another partner or collaborating with people, or kind of like, hey, now I'm taking everything that I've gone through and I'm going to seek my own path here?
I just thought about this right now. I think the way I view partnerships or collaboration is the same way that some women may view relationships or romance. Like saying I'm a hopeless romantic whatever.
Like the courtship process then, huh?
I think I'm still optimistic towards it, but the only reason I do things solo, that's necessity, is because
you want to get it done.
I want to get it done, but also I've been let down otherwise. So I always think collaboration, but then I think my expectations are always too high because I'm expecting people to work as hard as I am. And what I've learned, especially if it's my dream, no one is going to work as hard for me for my dream, no matter how great of the situation it is. At some point, they're going to want it. They're going to realize that it's not their dream. So the reason why I work so hard specifically for myself has been out of necessity. It's not because ownership, yes, I definitely want ownership, but I also aspire to share something with someone as well. Just so happened that my experience specifically hasn't been like that. At least not yet.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the hopeless romantic kind of view of that.
Yeah, I mean, I still, even after that, like senior year of college. By the way, I didn't finish college, but no, I didn't finish. And to go back to that, the reason why, I think, because I was saying I did college 5 years. I don't even know my standing where I am. I don't know if I'm a junior.
3 classes to do.
Yeah, I don't know, but
he's got like an elective.
It's almost embarrassing.
I got 1 credit left.
It's embarrassing.
But you're gonna be like that the 37-year-old like down the line that's like, you know what, fuck it, let me just go.
Yeah, just for fun. It's gonna be for fun. I've had that dream like. Later down the line, I'm just gonna do it for
just online courses.
Yeah.
We at that age now.
Yeah, like it's literally like I've literally had that dream, but I think for me the reason why I walked away is because like how I said earlier, like I think school was getting in the way.
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity. I was like, let me try this. I can always go back to school. Let me just take 1 semester off and pursue this and see what happens. And I haven't turned back since.
Do you think that has held you back in any way?
What? Not finishing school?
Not finishing.
No.
Okay.
But not at all. Hell no.
Got it.
But the one thing I do, I wouldn't say it's definitely not a regret.
The only reason I say that is just from the perspective of, okay, like some creators want to do creative things and then end up being like, fuck, like let me just go like explore the job world, right? The job market. And the degree will play a role. But you are somebody that's been constantly pursuing creative endeavors, and
in some capacity.
At the end of the day, like whether your creativity shines through or your creative ability shines through and gets you whatever role that is, even if it's like, okay, I'm working on my project, but I still need to check at this moment, so I'm going to do this gig, that gig, the other. But for some people, the only reason I ask is for some people, it could be a deterrent where they're like, fuck, I got to go back so I can put my resume together and then go on fucking monster.com and start putting my resume together.
I mean, I definitely have had those thoughts and stuff. But to be honest with you, man, no, I actually, the only thing I would have done different in school is use my resources better.
How so? I
wasn't aware of how much I had at my disposal until after the fact. And it's something that starts just as small as like having 20 free prints a day. Like just like little shit like that. Like you don't realize now I'm paying for the prints. Like, just like little, or just like being able to like rally up, my peers to like do a actual project together. Sure. Just utilizing everything, just that community. Yes. Because it was definitely a community. Yeah. And people that followed me and all that stuff. I don't think that part of leadership was there yet. Yeah. So that's the only thing I would do different. But two of my best relationships, or the best thing I got out of college, honestly, was meeting my boy Fam, who was like my business partner as well. We working on a couple of ventures. Yeah. And then it's unfortunate to say now, but my ex Tracy, she changed my life 100%. Wow. So
what was it about her that changed your life?
Well, one, we spent like shy of 6 years together, so it was a lot of maturity. Absolutely. I developed a lot just through her, and also just having like a weird relationship with people, and just like relationships. Just seeing someone who was like kind of like there for me. At the time, it felt unconditionally. Like it was just a different experience from like all the letdown I felt I had experienced. Yeah. So just having like a different perspective. Yeah.
Someone who's stable, someone who's supporting you, someone who's, by your side, like everything that you hadn't had for,
And also being able to share, like I share highs and lows.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a pure thing, like the affection shown between a man and a woman, right? Yeah. I think it's beautiful that you expressed like your creativity in that manner, right? Because it is such a romantic thing to not only be at one and love your whatever endeavor you're into, whether it's creative or even if you're a fucking accountant, like you just love numbers and you wake up happy to go to work, right? Even in relationships, like men and women both, I feel like have this like picture in their head of like, damn, like when I meet that girl or when I meet that guy, like, and I wake up in the morning and I just look at them sleeping and I just smile knowing like you're here with me and write you a little note how beautiful your smile is when you sleep and leave. Like we have this such romanticized view of these relationships and the possibilities of these things. It's like when you have them, it becomes a very beautiful thing.
Right, even if it's like, it's unfortunate. I'm not going to say it's unfortunate, but we're no longer together. Got it. But I know she's like a marker. Like I know what love and all those things. And because of her. Exactly. And she challenged me in ways that I hadn't been challenged. So, yeah, I will always kind of like big her up despite of whatever happened. Like,
of course. What was that... What was that step out of college like when you said, you know what, I'm going to take this semester off?
Take this show on the road.
Yeah, 100% taking my talents to South Beach, baby.
Hey, there you go. Now, the decision.
Because I'm going back to, you did all these extracurricular things in high school to get yourself into college. Were you scared? You're a smart academic dude. when you took that step out of college, I mean, going to college is a conventional thing. And also I feel in a lot of ways it is almost now a prerequisite to even getting a job, and with it being so tough to establish a career, I mean, even as an entrepreneur, like most people fail starting their first businesses, second businesses, third businesses. I mean, that's not probably like
true.
Yeah, I mean, in the 90 percentile.
Hell yes.
I mean, the odds are against you.
Yes,
they just are. And having a degree, saying you went to college, I can see why your mom thought it was very important, and it is very important nonetheless, right? That can't be argued. So, what was it like stepping out and saying, I'm going to go take this semester off. I'm going to go see what happens. Were you scared? Did you feel like...
No, it's funny.
Or were you just excited?
I don't know. If it definitely wasn't. It wasn't so much excited. But I think I've always just been a rational thinker. So like, just like with me earlier, making that shift in like how I perceive myself, or how I was like putting myself in certain situations, just looking at it from standing back. I was like, okay, I've tried it this way, and I'm not rendering results fast enough. Because like I said, I've been aware what I want to do at least since junior high. I mean, since not junior high, but since senior year of high school. Yeah. So going fast forward up until like the 5th year or 4th year when I decided to finally take a break, I was optimistic. I was like, I really don't have anything to lose and everything to gain. That was really like, let me just try it one way. I know that I can always go back to school. I left on good standing. Sure. They'll openly, accept me back because I left on like the dean's list or whatever.
Awesome.
So it was really just like, let me just try it and see what happens. And I didn't get results right away, but it was something about just feeling like I'm actually going after what I want to do. Like that was kind of like the enticing thing that kept me like, because I failed so much. And I'm still failing.
And that's the thing too, is that, I feel we fantasize about that, right? Like as you're getting into your last week of school and you're going to take this semester off, you have this fantasy you built in your head like, yo, I'm about to kill it. I'm going to live. I'm going to be free. I'm going to build my business. I'm going to build like, there's this kind of like glorified mentality. I'm assuming.
No, right.
Look, I left school for a year, and I went to 3 different colleges. So I know what it's like to kind of step out into the world like that and then eventually go back. But you go out and you're not getting the results fast enough probably. You're seeing immediate hurdles like, oh shit, I got to pay for these prints now. Or like things like that. How do you balance the realities with what you have in your mind of what you want it to be and kind of accepting those realities and still move forward?
So
that's a great question.
So this is when the shift, like, okay, so it went from also coming up, like I picked up things really quickly, and that was almost like it was a pro and a con because like I can put them down even quicker. The moment when that honeymoon period phased out, or I wasn't,
you can snip it.
Even when I wasn't experiencing like that beginner's luck or whatever the case may be. Yeah. I was like, okay, on to the next thing. Like I've tried so many things.
Do you think that's a gift and a curse?
100%. However, I tried being a musician. I mean, I've attempted to play so many instruments. I've done so many things. And the thing about, I guess, fashion, or I can say exploring entrepreneurship in fashion, I think what really showed me that it was something that I was it was kind of like a passion of mine is because even after failure, I didn't give up. I just was ready to try something new.
It's so beautiful to hear you so willing to keep trying.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in this day and age, especially in entertainment or the creative realms, people get so caught up in over analyzing every move before they make one, and making things so big and so life and death before they even try it to even like attempt this shit. But you've literally been willing to go, fail, completely fucking crash and burn and come right back to it. Yeah. That's a testament. That's an incredible skill set.
Right. And I think also realizing that like every time, like I had never like really reflected on what happened and like really went back and kind of like examined, okay, like how can I do this different? So every time when I try something new, I was bringing in the experience from the last thing and like really tweaking it. So I realized every time I came closer to whatever goal it was, whether it was producing a shirt or whatever, every time I tried something new, I came closer because I was bringing in experience or bringing in like my hypotenuse or whatever, all my calculations from.
How gratifying was that to see even like the steady build?
At the time,
no. But now,
looking back, yes. I mean, that's part. I mean,
hindsight is 20/20.
Exactly. So, as a quick shift over, like that's what Simple Things is about for me.
Take us through some of the things that came about before Simple Things. Because you were doing bags, you were doing like the Essential Man.
I mean, to be honest, okay.
Yeah, and I'm sorry because I think my question is.
Are you sorry?
Is going to tie.
How sorry are you? I'm just kidding. Let's go. Come on.
My thing is gonna tie into you, like, because I want to know when it started to transition, where you knew you weren't going to go back to college.
I
hope that kind of goes with your question.
Absolutely.
Too.
I mean, shit, gun for it.
I don't know if I ever.
Well, the semester.
It was well after a semester. Like I already.
So you do a semester and you're like, I'm keeping this going.
Yeah. Well. First of all, my first part of like, I knew that I wanted to have. I knew that fashion, the fashion industry, I wanted to have some type of career in. So I explored several options. At first, like my earlier options was when I was working at Up Against the Wall. And just like helping people find clothes, and I thought I wanted to be a stylist, so I explored being a stylist. I learned very quickly that wasn't for me.
Got it.
Just the politics and just like
it's beautiful to hear you failing quickly.
Yeah.
Because that's what every like motivational speaker says. Yeah. Every like person an entrepreneur that's gone through it. Like I feel like was it Frank Ma or Fred Ma? This one dude that started Alibaba. He was like just fail fast. Mm-hmm. Because what you begin to realize is what you don't want to do.
100%.
That's a truly gratifying experience. Instead of holding this like image in your head of how wonderful these things can be, and then just like we were talking about earlier, right? With our idols, we hold our idols in such high esteem, and then on the offshoot chance that we get to meet them or interact with them, and they're not what we saw, like how devastating that is to the psyche.
Oh, man, it's terrible.
Like imagine somebody meeting Michael Jordan like a kid with a basketball. And I've heard stories like crazy of this, right? A little kid with a basketball or a fucking card going up to Michael. A kid, dog, like little low when he met fucking Carl Kanai, and this dude was like, go fight for your dreams. But he meets Michael Jordan. His ball is life, hoop dream, superstar, greatest of all time, fucking nobody can touch him. And then he goes, no. Do you know how much that's worth to a fucking like 8-year-old?
Yeah, I've heard several.
Like bitch,
and
what?
Michael Jordan, like
bitch, what?
Michael
and I'll say that, bitch, what?
One more time,
bitch, what?
Yeah, Michael Jordan was like my idol. I've never had anyone's poster, frames, toys, dolls like I had Michael Jordan stuff.
Yeah.
And
he's crushed a lot of kids.
He's
fucking
crushed
dreams,
a lot of
dog.
kids.
I bet.
Yeah, I would have.
The unfortunate ones that got to meet him, like little Fred Lieberman, like an offshoot, not related to Daniel, but dad golfs with Michael. Michael, can you sign this?
Or all the kids, like, because every year, because he had the sports camp. Every year, I was almost crushed every year because I submitted to, and I never got in.
Well, I like to say my hero is Magic Johnson.
Oh, that's cool.
And I met him last year.
Yeah.
Nice guy, right?
Walked into Pavilions right here.
You know, he's always at this sports club at like 6:30 a.m.
Oh, really?
When I was doing my weight challenge bet, I'd literally be on the treadmill with fucking trash bags on to get to the weight, and he'd just be in there chilling with fucking Byron Scott.
That's
like,
amazing.
Doing workouts.
I walk into Pavilions, and he's right directly in front of me at the cash register. And I'm just like,
you had that Roushie smile too.
Just like immediately when the doors open and there's Magic Johnson, you're just not expecting him like at a cash register at Pavilions, right?
Right.
So immediately I just like beeline right to him, and
he sees it coming. Joe can't contain it. He's like, "Yep, I'm coming for you."
And I just tap him. He turns around.
Oh, you tapped him? You had the audacity to hit him with the tap?
Bro, I tapped him.
Hey, Magic.
Bro, I tapped him, and I go. He turns around. I'm like, Magic, you're my hero. I give him a hug.
Tapped him and went in for the hug.
You became a kid, man.
Bro, I said, you're my hero. I give him a hug. I said, can I have a picture with you? He said, absolutely. I gave this little Persian kid in line my phone.
Hey, Omi, can you take this, please?
Yeah, Farzad, hold this real quick. So little Farzad gets my phone. Got my arm around Magic. He still has the cash in his hand and the groceries in the other hand.
I respect it.
Puts his arm around me. We take a picture. Thank you. Shook his hand. Got my groceries.
Yeah, Michael would have snarled at you, dog. He would have said, "Don't touch me, first of all."
And
you
I was just like, you are a man of the community. That's why you're my hero. That is why you're my hero. LA, baby, what?
Wow, that's tight.
Yeah, made my day.
Straight up.
But
that's wild. Like it's crazy how like the human side of our idols can either make or break their image.
Oh my goodness.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It's wild. Like, look, granted, I'll give Michael a pass here. Like, God knows what you go through in life and all that type of shit. Right? But come the fuck on. Right? If a fucking 5-year-old asks you for a fucking autograph, do you even think in the wildest shit, like, oh, you're going to be that guy that's like, oh, your dad told you to come do, like, that's how he's acting to these kids. Oh, your older brother told you to come do this so you could sell it on eBay? Like, no, bitch. No.
yeah.
I actually just bought your shoe.
Yeah.
I just want an autograph.
I actually just, like, my dad loves you so much, and I've been watching tapes of you. You're my idol, and, like, you gonna treat me this way?
Yeah, it's a sad thing when they turn out like that. But going back to the moment while you're building momentum, you know, you're failing fast, which again, like to your point, see, I'm horrible at understanding that. Like, I definitely stick in things way too long.
Me too.
I think most
it's
people
literally just like, bro, it's
most
wild
people
when the world, like, cause like it's crazy reflecting on me, right? Cause like I wasn't a kid that was always told no and was always told he wasn't going to be shit and never felt it. Like, it was actually quite the opposite. It was always, you're going to be fine. There's so many special gifts you have, all this shit. But like, literally, it took external events crushing my world for me to start taking my gifts seriously. Because it was crunch time at that point. Like, it was like, you either make a fucking pivot after you got broke. Like, I couldn't make a pivot before the world came crashing down. The world came crashing down, and I was fortunate enough to be able to make a pivot and land, right, and then build again. But it's wild that, like, it's so important how these things shape you, because I was so afraid to fail. Like, that's why when I look at your journey and mine, like, I was so afraid to fail that I never put myself in a position to truly fucking fail, right? And when you think about that in the grander scheme of life, that's a recipe for utter, complete disaster, right? Because you're holding on to something that may never be really what you wanted. And imagine dedicating your whole life to not failing at something like that, and then finding out that, shit, I just wasted my whole fucking life. And look at me now. Like, I don't even want to do this. Like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Wild.
Like cats hit that what the fuck was I thinking point. And then they reach that 35 where they're like, what do I do? Like, shout out to F. Scott Fitzgerald for saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but saying that you're never too old to be who you want to be. But that's a concept that's very hard to believe for somebody that's never attempted to be somebody else, right? For you, you've lived an incredible journey thus far to where you've been able to take in different avenues and be able, like, the beauty is, and this is how I see it up until right now, right? Both you and I know that you haven't gotten to the level that you want to, but the beauty in your journey, bro, and which is why I smile every time I think about it and I see you, and I also see you doing this pop-up and putting this scene out and all of these things, is that you are you are the essence of what it is to be becoming as a artist, as a creator, and as a human being, right? And like, nobody is really going to know the magnitude of when you get there, right? When you have those lines and when you are infiltrating this community and you're collaborating with this designer and that designer and you have this store and that store and you're putting together different like zines and getting curators, all of these things together for like overall, let's affect the community in the right way. Nobody's going to look back and say, but do y'all remember the Lorenzo that was living here and that was doing this and that wasn't making it then? No. Nobody remembers that shit. But that shit is what makes those people so great.
Right.
You feel me? Nobody's going to look back and be like, but dog, when he was 26, like, how much money did he have in his bank account? When you're 35 and finally getting everything on a vision board that you have, finally having checked off every single goal you did for the year and some, and you're just looking like you have the stature now, you rolling through, you taking your dad shopping, like, there you go. Nah, old man, don't get that. You know that ain't fly.
Right.
Right?
That was tight.
You feel me? But like, in those moments, nobody looks back and be like, but dog, you grinded so hard then and you was nothing then.
Right.
But that fear in and of itself.
Dude, she's on fire.
That was a good one.
But like, I feel like that shit that scares so many of us. And bro, the reason why I can say that with such conviction is because I've looked in the mirror and cried to myself and been like, who the fuck are you becoming, right?
Oh, man.
Talking like this, though, with cats in the world like the David Dans and the Zaz and all them, knowing that I'm speaking to their core, but ultimately talking to my goddamn self and not being able to believe it.
Oh, man.
Right? So I'm changing your life in front of you, and I'm really talking to me. It's not like it's not genuine.
Stay there. You know those notes to selves I put out like on social media?
Yes.
Like, those are like, and people, I put them out because I know someone can connect, but that's me. These are conversations I have in the mirror.
Yeah.
Like,
bro.
and sometimes I can be extremely cynical. So like, to kind of conflict or go against some of my negative thoughts.
Yeah.
I try to say like a positive affirmation, and I just share it. But this is like real shit that I say to myself.
Yeah.
There's like legit note to selves, and it's for exactly what you just said.
It's wild, bro, because like it's like, look, anybody out there listening, it's okay. It's okay to not know what the fuck is going on, right? It's okay to be completely lost, right? What's not okay is holding it in. What's not okay is not being vulnerable enough in your circle to look at your closest homies or look at some people that you look at as mentors and say, bro, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It feels like the world's crashing down. Because unless you explicitly say that, there's only going to be very few people that can know that and pick inside your brain.
Exactly.
Like, I was so fucking scared of telling people, so many people that held me in such high esteem that like I fucking literally did not know who I was becoming, and I was afraid that I was fucking losing my mind, right? When everybody's like, oh, but Noosh is always with a smile on his face. Dog, you always have such great energy, and how you always so positive. Like, dog, literally somebody's telling me that. I'm still big Nooshi smiling, and I'm fucking bawling inside, and I'm bawling in an empty frame. Like, imagine bawling, and the shit's just like floating off into the Richters. Like, I'm invisible. And I'm being told how fucking positive I am and how much when you look at me and you're going through life in a hardship and you look at my smile and it brightens you up. I'm like, fuck, dog, who the fuck is talking to me then,
Right.
dog?
Oh, man.
Who the fuck's here for me right now?
That's my story, bro. Like,
But at the same time, what I realized, which is truly a gem, I was saying who the fuck's there for me, scared as shit to tell people who I was. You know what I'm saying? So it's so beautiful to me to see that, like, it's just, look, you take it in stride. You do this. You test it out. You're not afraid to put yourself out there. I think that's what makes the momentum that you consistently build and add upon so brilliant in my eyes, right? Because you've gotten here. Now, to that point, back to where we were talking about, take us through the kind of steps in after the graduation and like up until this point, what different endeavors you've been through and like how they've kind of shaped to where everything became so fucking simple. I'm so tight right now.
Bro, you
Stop a motherfucker, dog. I dare you.
She's going fucking nuclear. Right
Stop
now.
a motherfucker, dog. Shout out to Michael Jordan. You want my autograph, bitch?
So many quotables. So many quotables.
I just did a laugh.
That was a good one. Well, so I mean, I can kind of go quickly with this part. Like I did the styling.
Okay.
Found out really quickly that wasn't for me. I knew that once I started exploring with like in the styling, me trying to like having like custom pieces, and just seeing how people gravitated to some of the custom stuff I did. It was more so like something like a light bulb when I was like, people. It's not so much what the piece is people actually are buying into my ideas. So let me figure out a way to package it and just present more of my ideas.
That's an interesting perspective. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. So that was after the Marty McFly.
Got it.
So now this is like 2009. Now I'm really like, my ideas are flowing. And
I feel like this is around the time where we first met too.
Exactly. So 2009. So this is when I don't even remember the origins of it, but I know that I had a brand. This was like my first official brand that I would say, successfully launched. That didn't go anywhere.
Got it.
But I went through that was my first part of like going through the whole process, getting the DBA and just like really learning that side of it.
Immerse yourself in it.
Yeah, I went 100% in, and I learned so much, and I lost so much money from that. That shaped everything actually, and that's actually exactly when we like around when we met.
It's almost like all that money you lost, like the way I like to think about those scenarios. So I've been in that is all the money you lost. It's like paying for the education,
100%. Oh
that's the experience.
Yeah,
you know. And that's how you have to look at it.
Like imagine if we're able to look at it like that, though. Because like when we hit that point, we're just like, oh, God,
like that was all that was money you paid basically for a year or two of business school.
Exactly.
You know, so
I actually like that perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went. So the name of that brand was called Heard 'Em Say, and going back to like me wanting to be like this serial collaborator, it was an art collective, and it was the whole concept was. Centered around me creating a platform just to collaborate and just like expose different artists. Again, inspired by Kanye. The Heard 'Em Say song with Adam Levine.
Wow.
It was actually the way I did it. I had one word. I just made it one word. Heard 'Em Say, and this was actually around the time when I met B Wade too. He was like a 10th grader in high school, and he was actually one of the first people that was working with me. Like, I mean, he did like little designs. Like that was my guy. So this is all around that time. And, so that was called Heard 'Em Say. So after a year or so of doing that and like really doing like this campaign, building the buzz, having everybody excited, I put out an amazing campaign.
Yeah.
And I kind of like overpromised and underdelivered. So I created this huge buzz, but I didn't have the product or anything to follow.
Yeah.
So, and at the time I was also spending a lot of money trying to, because at the time, like also a lot of it was just like ignorance and just me just learning. Like when you don't know anything, like when you go, if you don't know anything about cars, your mechanic can tell you anything. And this costs
anything. You believe anything.
Yeah. So
you just praying that they doing you right.
Right. So that was my thing. Like I didn't know anything about like
the dude that's stabbing you while smiling. Though, like, yeah, no, don't worry, I'm gonna take care of you.
Hey,
just gutting you, taking your kidney away.
You need new brakes. Oh wait, yeah, you need more new brakes. You need another pair. I got eight fucking new brakes.
I only got 4 wheels.
Fuck, man.
I got 4 wheels and 8 brakes.
My brakes last week. Yeah, these are the ones that just implode, and like that's why it's so cheap.
Yeah. So that was like my intro in terms of just like paying for like partnering with photographers to do photo shoots that never happen. Paying for designers to help me make the tech. All these things I was paying for
before you got the deliverables.
Well, no. Well, with the photographer thing was, and also with samples.
Ooh, samples
are another thing. Like you pay for something, they'll mess it up, but you got to pay for them to correct it because they're not owning up to the fact where like you did say actually do it this way.
Yeah,
I fucked up.
Your specs were actually exactly on the key.
Yeah, so I learned so much through that process. And at the time, like I said, I didn't have the product to meet the demand or even meet anything really.
Yeah.
So something said was, okay, you spending all this money trying to bring awareness to the company, paying for all this service and doing all this extra stuff I shouldn't have had to do. Figure out another way you can bring awareness to the company that's free. And that's when I launched the blog. I knew that people valued my opinion in terms of style. So I launched a blog called The Essential Man.
Wow.
It's interesting because Mizzle kind of talks about the idea of getting people to buy into like you're like more the concept.
Right.
You're not trying to like slang shirts or slang product as much as you're trying to get people on board with the bigger picture and buy into you and what you stand for.
It's also very transformative. Like you think, like I look back to the Simon Sinek talk, right? And this is a talk like the golden circle and the why as opposed to the what. Yep. And it's wild because like how much different I like see its application now as opposed to like when I was going through the thick of my fucking just straight scaredy cat fuckery, right? But this is the thing, bro. It's like, yes, people are not buying what you do. They're buying why you do it, which means that you're galvanizing people around you and you as a being or you or your entity as like what its message could be doing is what people rally around because everybody wants to be a part of something, right? Or everybody wants to be led by a thought leader of some sort. But the wild shit is that, like, when you really get down to the nitty-gritty is the act or the implementation of these things is so much different and so much harder than the thought of it, bro. Like, it's the implementation of these things is so far below as glamorous as the shit sounds. You know what I mean? And I feel like people get caught up in the glamour of fucking, how the shit sounds or how the idea is, as opposed to just getting in the trenches and dealing with it and learning as they go. Because sometimes we're just so focused on this moment that we just want everything to win.
Yeah.
So out of that failure came the Essential Man.
Yeah. So it wasn't even. It wasn't a failure.
No, out of the necessity to start putting things or like getting a message out, but for not a cost.
Right.
Came the blog.
Exactly. So I noticed that this was like the rise of like men's fashion and like where men were starting to make that shift and really get into fashion.
That's where everything, bro.
This is when a lot of like the companies that are like real publications now. This is when they.
So this is when like the street etiquette guys were like just
street etiquette. What was the name of that one? Site where you will post your outfits and get likes and ratings and stuff. It's some like.
Was it the Sartorialist?
No, it wasn't Sartorialist. It was an actual site.
Oh, like an outfit. Really?
I forgot the name of it, but this is before they actually started their blog. But this is when Inventory, that's a magazine now, and they were only a blog. And this is when they started doing like all like the little style guides where you are like the little grids, outfit grids. Yeah. So that was like the rise of that stuff. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to sprinkle in my stuff, but like sharing it in my lifestyle. And like, instead of being like so overtly like, this is heard them say, let me just sprinkle into my lifestyle. And that's what the blog was. It was just a lifestyle blog of me sharing my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And after a year of doing it, building this following, going from 1 follower to 10 to 100 to thousands. I'm like, oh shit, I got a captive audience. Let me figure out a way to really present something that I've always wanted to present, my own product or whatever, and really like get it out to the people. And at the time, what made sense was because at the time I wore a 5-panel cap every day. I carried a tote bag every day, and I always had a pocket notebook. So I was like, let me present my own version of that. And that's exactly what I did. So my first products were those 3 things.
Awesome.
All made in America, all made. And I took in some of my experience, some of the relationships that I had built from Heard 'Em Say, and I just presented these products. Heard 'Em Say was still there. I still was making little stuff, but there was definitely a shift because now I noticed that a lot of my attention and people was inquiring about the Essential Man. And at the time, at that time I was just a blog that so happened to have products. So I was like, this is not right. I don't like the way that feels. I want to be taken seriously. So let me go through the whole process again.
Shout out to the
This is how important it is. The cops are coming on the way to the house right now.
Anytime,
Let me really make this official. And I went through the process again of like doing like the legal part of like making.
That's something that so many people that embark on a business journey do last.
Yeah.
Right.
So
okay.
why? So, yeah. Talk a little bit about that because I love that exact point. It's the part that's going to legitimize what you're doing.
Well, I think that's what it needed to be for me as well. It was like for me to be taken seriously as a brand, I have to actually be a brand.
Yeah.
So it was just that simple. And like I was saying earlier, in terms of me, every time when I start something new, it becomes easier. So like it was a shit show trying to get the legal stuff and everything done because it was like a learning curve. I didn't know shit. I was doing business counseling and all that stuff. Was trying to find free resources so where I can learn this stuff.
Yeah.
And I did the work with Heard 'Em Say, but when it came down to doing it with the Essential Man, I already knew how to do it. It was like, let's go. I'm ready for business.
Yeah.
You know, then I can start hitting up these companies to get wholesale prices and all that stuff. So it was an easy transition.
Yeah.
So now I'm a company. And the one thing I say, I have no regrets when it comes to Essential Man. The only thing I would have did differently in that transition is not stop blogging. I didn't understand.
Wow,
I didn't understand the value
of content.
Of content, but also because I wasn't marketing, I wasn't doing marketing stuff. People were coming to my site for my
to
blog.
hear your opinion.
And it's also like people, that's where your organic fan base was. So they're going everywhere to look at your content, and they're getting the habit of always checking on you.
It was like a rebellious thing. It was also like ego. Like I want to be taken seriously as a designer, not the blogger who has a few products. So it was more of like, it was 100% ego.
Wow.
And just not understanding and looking at it from a more business side. Like they're coming here for this.
That's so interesting.
You're going to give them this anyway.
Yeah.
But you might as well while they're here.
Yeah.
So after a while, and you know how, especially at this time where there's so much content, this was actually the start of like where it was just like so much stuff to like filter.
Yeah.
After you check, a couple of days and there's not new content, after a while, you're gone. So after me not having, it became harder to
regain the audience.
Exactly. So I continued to put out products and they would sell. They wasn't selling as quickly, but they would sell. So after a year of doing it, I finally had my confidence. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I think I'm ready to actually pursue a real cut and sew line, shirting, everything. And I went through that process, but it cost way more money than I had. So I did a Kickstarter campaign.
Awesome.
It's not awesome yet. You got to hear the rest of the story. It's actually devastating, bro.
Someone did give me money. They just donated their fucking Metro Pass.
Yeah. So, it's actually devastating. So I fast forward to the Kickstarter campaign. This is 2012. I do this Kickstarter campaign to launch my summer 13 spring collection. So I do this in a incredible campaign. You would have thought I was running for like office or whatever. It was like an amazing campaign.
Yeah.
And just like the detail, like everything, I had everything aligned. I had already started everything. I literally, once I got the money, everything was a go.
In motion.
I was asking for $12,000, and I only made $6,000. And in hindsight, the reason, like, because I was doing my research and I didn't fully explore Indiegogo at the time. I just didn't like the way it looked aesthetically.
You had it. Ego again.
Yeah, ego. So I was the same way, like, for like a videographer may upload something to Vimeo because it's just cleaner versus YouTube.
Yeah.
That was like my logic. It was like,
got it.
Kickstarter is like a nicer
But
platform.
Vimeo's hitting like 3 people. YouTube could hit 3 million.
Exactly. So, and also with Indiegogo, I didn't know until after the fact that even if you don't meet your goal, you get like 30%. Like you get some of the money. With Kickstarter, you don't get any. So, wow. Long story short, I did this amazing campaign, had all these praise reports, everyone supporting verbally, but it didn't really translate into them pledging or supporting the actual campaign.
Yeah.
So I come to a crossroad where I'm like questioning. This is like one of my first times where I'm like questioning, like, is this? I've been pursuing this for a few years now, 5 years now. Is this meant to be? Like, what does this mean? Does this mean that because when you said I did like thorough research on Kickstarter before I started my campaign, and they just like, what happens if you don't meet the goal? They like it's kind of hard, like really brash what they were saying, like in terms of like you may have to reevaluate. So like all these things I'm internalizing, all these things like
you're a loser.
Like, hey, this may not be for you.
Like, if you don't make a Kickstarter campaign
quit.
Goal, number one, you're a loser.
Yeah.
Number two,
what were you thinking?
I hope you didn't quit your day job.
Yeah. So like those moments really happened for me, and that was the first time I really was like considering, like, am I making the right decision? And what happened? So I had already invested in all this fabric, all this stuff. I had already, like I said, I was ready. I had already put my own money up to get like it started.
Yeah.
And I didn't meet the goal, so it was like, oh shit. So that means I have to figure out another way. So after 2 months of kind of just like sobbing and just like being depressed, essentially just trying to figure it out.
Appreciating being the victim for a little bit.
Yeah. So finally I was like, okay, you've come too far. Yes, go back to the drawing board. You have this fabric. Either you could figure out a way to get rid of it, or you could do something with it. What do you do with it? How do you maximize, get the most out of what you have? Cut it up in pieces.
That's incredible.
And I launched my accessories.
Oh, shit.
Ties, pocket squares, and that took off the company.
Really?
This is 2013. So that took off the company.
Mama!
Yeah.
Mama! That's fucking such an... That's amazing.
Yeah, so like, and I did like, it was one of the first shows I participated in was Unique LA. I think that was like the thing that really was like the launch pad for me, because at the time, this is 2013. I was literally living like a real life How to Make It in America story.
Wow.
I was working at Barney's. I was designing at the cash register. So I was developing this whole relaunch of the brand while working at Barney's, and Barney's was paying for it.
Lit.
And so when I
you didn't take that struggle mentality of like, I just want to make it a designer, what? You were just out there. I need to make a check.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in the scenario where I'm dealing with these clientele and I'm dealing with these brands.
Exactly. Well, so I always figured out a way to. I've always been the type of person that you don't necessarily have to be teaching me something for me to learn. So just being observant and just like picking up, like, okay, I'm in Barney's. I'm around all these clothes. This is like the place where everyone wants to be. Yeah. Anyway, I'm actually
that's the
dealing
one door
with
that every brand.
I'm shopping. I mean, I'm selling it to people, and I'm just like taking cues. I have my BlackBerry. And I'm taking pictures. I'm like I'm just using it all, taking it all in.
That's the best, yeah.
And receipt paper. I have all these designs. I'm really building a brand from scratch
At the cash register.
At the job. Because it was so much idle time.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers on their idle time, they playing Tetris and...
Yeah. You're building brands.
You're
building your brand.
Yeah. I'm behind the register and people just come... And they didn't ever bother me because... They're like, well, he doesn't have his phone out. He has a sketch. But like, I didn't look like I was doing anything, but I'm like really... Like,
he must be journaling, Margaret.
Yeah,
don't really, bother him.
I'm really like maximizing this whole time.
Shout out to Margaret. You know there's a Margaret working at Barney's.
Yeah.
So
Lorenzo, your writing must be phenomenal. Are you a writer?
Yeah.
All that journaling you're doing.
So I
that's incredible.
I launched the brand. I relaunched the brand with accessories, and the impact, I had immediate impact.
Wow.
I got in like 12 stores, like immediately.
12 accounts.
Yeah, immediately. Like I'm selling.
How'd you even get those 12 opportunities? Like they just you launched it through the blog, or how'd you do it?
Well, no. By this time it was a website. So
okay, so you had the website. So let's go accessories out there, and the demand started coming in.
Yeah. Once you get one or two,
boom, boom, boom.
It started because. And a lot of them came through social media.
Cool.
Just seeing, like, because I had such a praise report through doing the doing Unique LA.
Yeah.
Just my images, everything was just like the attention to detail was just immaculate.
Yeah, and that helps. Like when you get those 1 or 2 accounts, it instantly gives you the credibility. It instantly like instills trust in other people to take you on. I'm like, look, this. And
it gave me confidence, something I didn't always have.
Yeah.
Although I always knew I was very capable. I didn't always like speak with conviction or always speak with like confidence. I was known for like downplaying, and I still kind of do like they say downplay, but I think I'm humble. But like, I would not even talk about my brand. Like so.
Can I speak on that point real quick? Shout out to my
Nushi coming in from 10 miles away.
Need for a cigarette right now. I want to talk. See, this is something that a lot of creators have. I want to talk about that humble and not bragging, but like doing the work stuff. What's not humble about like having hella conviction for whatever somebody's doing, regardless of how it could come off, right?
Right.
Like what I would want to know, like, not saying one way is right or wrong, but like. Just what's the fuck it point of you're either gonna like ride with it or you're not, right? What's the need to kind of like ease it in? Not saying that one way or the other is right or wrong, but what's that kind of like barometer, if you will?
I think buying into people's thoughts because I think collectively being confident is interpreted as arrogance. Because most people aren't, so I think, just trying not to upset people and just trying to always be on people's good side and not offend, I think that's part of it. Mm-hmm.
Could that be a deterrent, though, for your, like, X brand?
Oh, 100%. I mean, in hindsight, yeah, you know that. Because I know that, like, at least now, I'm the end all be all. Like I know, like whatever I think, I'm running with it. Like whether this person likes it, whether it's popular, like I'm really moving by my own thoughts and stuff like that. So I think once I realized that it didn't matter one way or another. And actually there was I found more satisfaction when those times when I accidentally did it my way and I got like the same result as if I would do it someone else's way.
Sure.
I was like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I might as well just do it my way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's so incredible. It must have been just such a satisfying feeling at that time. Now, how'd you leverage that into growth? Because you hear a lot, like sometimes you'll get that one opportunity, but often it's what you do with it. Mm-hmm. It's, that initial success where I see a lot of people have gone wrong is they think that's like, oh shit, like mama, I made it. I'm done. Mm-hmm. Where really that opportunity is more about what you do to make that into growth and more and build on that? How'd you do it at that time? Like go from accessories to building it out.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think I ever reached that point.
I
think I hit a plateau pretty quickly.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I think just looking back, I think I've always, because the way I started it, I was so set in my own ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got in my own way.
Interesting.
And just not wanting to like. Since I made like very strong decisions, like starting out with the company, and I kind of like stuck to it, even if like I had an opportunity that can kind of like was great for everyone, but since it didn't align, like I feel like I got in my way a lot with the Essential Man. Yeah.
So after knowing that, so you blasted off, hit a plateau. Begin to understand this. Where does that take you after that? So we're in 2014, 2015 now, or we're
okay. So early 2015. By this time, so I had when I relaunched the company, I had my accessory. I had like a lot of momentum. I got an office. I was paying all my bills through my company, which was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Because this was like the first time when I felt like I've thrown so many things against the wall. And it was the first time. This is the first time I felt like it actually stuck. However, like I said, I think I got in my way when it came to like making certain decisions because I was just like, part of it was ego, just like trying to do it and not wanting to use my resources.
For what though? Because I think it's really beautiful to touch on these things because these are things that all go through all of our minds. Right. It's just beautiful to be able to speak on them openly, right? Because not only in your path have you overcome these things, but that's the beauty of just like the human aspect of this podcast in my eyes is that like anybody that's listening, whether it's somebody that knows you or whether it's a kid down the line in a culture that like has these aspirations, to know that all of these things are normal, to know that all of these things happen, to know that sometimes, bro, reevaluate and understand your thoughts and your ego are going to get in your way. The faster we're able to get to these things, right, is the quicker we're able to fucking plateau again. I mean, to escalate again.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, like, again, a lot of us have hit, Tony Robbins and all these different like thought leaders and all these things that are telling us these things at such an early age. It's just not registering, right? But it really only registers once you try it or once you actually experience it and either succeed and are able to evaluate and be like, okay, how do I make it better? Or completely crash and burn and are able to evaluate and be like, what the fuck went wrong? And how do I make it better? And you've literally been going through the years at all of these different emotions and left, right, diagonal.
So I think for me, like with the Essential Man, it's a couple things. It's something that started off as a passion project.
Yeah.
It was a shift once I was dependent on it to support myself.
Sure.
And also starting it as neat, like a niche, like very niche brand. Like, I mean, I just made it very complicated than it had to be. Already, like, I mean, around the fabrics and all this stuff, it was just like complicated and so much explanation had to be. I had to give so much explanation. And then on top of that, I wasn't willing. The whole thing with the blog part is that, what I made was amazing, but it was me that sold the brand. So not understanding that I was the brand and trying to make it separate. It's like, for example, like if I always had like the Essential Man Instagram, and I had my personal Instagram. If I post the same picture, I would change the narrative or change the caption to like make the Essential Man a little more polished. Where people was like checking, like they were buying into who I was, my personality.
Yeah.
So at
So it was
some
a
point,
disconnect without you realizing
At some point, it was a disconnect, and it became frustrating because now I felt like after I had that earlier success, I felt like I was trying to take it to the next level, and I feel like I was still being boxed and accessories. So it just became frustrating. And also having personal issues, relationship problems, and all that stuff, it kind of just became frustrating.
Yeah.
And I was no longer having fun. So that's when I made my pivot, another pivot. And I started focusing back on passion projects. And that was the birth of Simple Things.
It could all be so you realized that it could all be simple.
Looking in the mirror, just really correcting my okay, like I've made this. I'm overthinking everything about the Essential Man, everything. Not only is like I'm trying to explain certain stuff to people who, at the end of the day, don't really give a damn. I'm just complicating everything.
Sure.
So I just shifted my focus and really just started focusing on things that made me happy, and that was literally the Simple Thing.
So take us through the birth of Simple Things.
So it started like me and my ex. We used to go to this. It's actually the first story. We used to go to this wine bar in Los. We both lived in Los Feliz, and we used to go to this wine bar, Covell. And I don't drink.
Yeah,
she loves wine. And I will always have, we'll sit at the bar. I will always have a Mexican Coke in a glass, and she'll have her wine. I'll only get in the glass just so we could toast and shit like that.
Yeah.
Make it look a little romantic.
Make it fitting. Yeah.
Because I would have literally liked to just chug it, but, try to, actually enjoy the moment with her.
Yeah.
So that was
I fucking love that.
So that was our thing. And after going so many times, one particular time she brought to my attention, she was like, dude, you realize it was a night where it was more people there than usual. And she was like, dude, you realize that you're the only one not drinking, but you're having just as much fun as everyone else? I was like, damn. I'm kind of looking around. So that kind of became synonymous with just simple, joyous moments.
Wow.
So I went home. I started doing these illustrations, and I went home and just drew kind of a representation of that scene. That's just the Mexican Coke bottle with the glass, and that represented that. And then I started a series. I started drawing other things that kind of brought me joy. Donuts in a pink box. And that was from my barber shop. It's in the hood. It's in Lamert Park. And every morning, it's like a rundown place, but every morning, part of the experience, you can expect that he has that pink box with donuts in it. And that's kind of just it's just like home. You feel at home, you know what to expect. So I drew that. And I just started drawing other things around Simple Things that just kind of trigger those moments for me. And fast forward a few months later, I did this project called the 100 Days Project. And I started drawing all these different objects. And after a while, I kind of found a style, and I'm like, I could just start drawing Simple Things and stuff like that. So within that project, I discovered, I said, because I always wanted to make it into a book or whatever, or a zine. I just didn't know what. And then I discovered Simple Things, actually making it into a concept within this project. And yeah, man, that's really how it started, just through daily.
That's absolutely
doodles.
Fucking incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, what I told you, off before we started this episode, it's reading through Simple Things, and for all the listeners, you gotta get this and read through it. It's the most relatable kind of joy that you can experience. And it grounds you instantly.
Yeah. It really makes you think. I can't even say it makes you enjoy the simple things, because that's assuming that you have
it's not,
that, right?
Yeah,
right.
But it makes you think about what the simple things are.
Right.
In anybody's life, because you have the Coke bottles, the Walkmans, the baller's life, all of these things. for some people, it's different. For some people, it's Charlotte's Web and their Grinder and God knows what, right? But like all of these, like there's so many simple things in this complicated world that at times we forget them, right? And for me, it allowed me to really like, even though I'd gone through my fucking crash and I come back and now like life for me is like, I wake up just with so much joy because I wake up truly with the notion in my head of every day is a blank canvas and I will paint and create the life that I want, which means now that if there's somebody or something that does not fit what I want, I have no problem saying nope or not being a part of that, right? Now I've gotten to the point where if I have people at my house and there's just a bad energy or a bad, a weird vibe in my home, instead of just taking it like I usually would because, oh man, it's like my boy's friend or this, that, I'm just so much more comfortable with saying, look, y'all gotta go. I'm not going to come here and make a scene, but I'm saying, look, this is my house. This is not what I want at this moment. And I want to be comfortable in my house. Y'all got to go. Or in any other thing in our lives.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
it's so simple.
Yeah, it's a way to take control. Like, I remember first reading through that here. And, work days can be really stressful. Life can be really stressful. You're thinking about money and business and this and that, things that like you feel are always make or break, things that just like everything feels like fucking life or death, sometimes. And I read through that and like not only does it give you perspective, but it just makes everything else like
so trivial, bro.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah, that literally for me, because like for me personally, like a lot of the things that I do start with me in terms of just like me having that moment of reflection, just like looking in the mirror and like checking myself. So like at that time when I was kind of like going through like a lot of questioning and just answering stuff, I know for me, like I set goals and before I even reach them or when I reach them, I'm already on to the next one and I never really reflect or you constantly comparing and this is not what I want. And so this was like me challenging myself to like, dude, this is all the stuff. Like you have everything you need. Like be happy a little bit,
Yeah.
So that was really like me checking myself.
Wow.
And part of the rollout for me doing that, I'm like, I know what this has done for me, and I've shared it, with a few people, and I saw how they responded. I created a social experiment where part of my rollout, I was just exploring the simple things with other people. I'm just going up to strangers. Hey, you want to participate in my social experiment? Sure. What is it? It's about simple things. Oh, what does that mean? And I show them a paper, and the paper said, when you think of the simple things that bring you joy, what comes to mind first?
Wow.
Write or draw your answer. So, I haven't even thought about that. And it's just seeing how people will respond.
Oh, they probably fucking huge smile.
Yeah. Just seeing how people will respond to that. I did this. I launched this project, the social experiment in November, and it carried out to Christmas Day of 2015, just as a rollout. And I had such a great response. I'm like, oh shit, I was only intended just to do it as a rollout. I might as well keep this part going. So this is like, that part has become like a very like important part of like the whole project. So when I do these pop-ups, that's always like an activation in like my art exhibitions, whatever, just like that interactive part, just challenging everyone to have that moment of
absolutely
of reflection.
That's brilliant.
It's amazing, and it's incredible. Like the way I can't even express like how it literally makes me feel. Like it feels. I go back to control. Like with as much craziness can be in your life, if you think about those little simple things that make you very happy, you do realize like you're good.
Yeah.
Like you're fucking good, and it feels good to feel that.
Absolutely, bro.
Like you're fucking
absolutely,
you're
bro.
Good.
Straight up. I wanna use this to, and this is Joey. If you have something to ask, go ahead. Because I wanted to hit the little finalmente right here, and I feel like it's only fitting, right? being that you've gone through all that you've gone through, right, with brands and with your experiences with people and your understanding of time and time again letting your ego get in the way, but less and less as it goes on. Coming to a point where you've realized that it could all be so simple, right? What is Lorenzo telling himself these days when he looks at himself in the mirror? And where does Lorenzo want to go, knowing everything that he's experienced up until this point?
Well, the first thing I'm telling myself is that it's okay. It's okay to fail. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be transparent.
It's okay.
It's okay to make mistakes publicly.
Yeah.
And I think part of like this whole journey, I think that's part of my purpose. And I get so many praise reports just from people, but it's not like, I'm not doing anything other than just sharing my journey.
Yeah.
So I think that's been part of my purpose, just like not making it look easy. And, you know, because I can do that. I know the formula to like making these extremely beautiful curated images and just making it look like life is just so easy.
Yeah.
I try to share as much without it being kind of like impulsive or whatever. I mean, but I think that's been part of it, just me just sharing my journey and allowing myself to be vulnerable in front of
vulnerability is.
Yeah. But what was the second part of the question?
What are you telling? Well, what are you telling yourself now? Like where? No, excuse me. It's okay. Where does Lorenzo want to go now?
I want to continue to create a platform and just. I know the power of representation.
Yeah.
I know that power in numbers, and I know now because I said a lot of stuff that I've done on my own by default. That part is over. It's time to really join and just collectively
bring it all
push
together.
Things forward. So if it starts with me, I want to continue just to bring people up.
Incredible.
As I ascend, you know.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Lorenzo,
Absolutely.
I just want to tell you thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And thank you for actually showing the simple beauty of simplicity.
Right.
Right.
Thank you.
And shedding light on how beautiful the simple things really are. Before we cap it off, where can people find you on social media, website, these different avenues?
Well, I have a personal website, LorenzoDiggins.com. That's kind of like through the links you can find everything.
Got it.
But if you want to go directly to simple things, it's it could all be so simple.com.
It really could.
Get the zine.
Yes, Volume 2, Christmas Day.
Incredible.
Coming in
Please
with
get it.
gifts.
Let's go.
And new merch, which is also like as a quick set, like that's been like the fun part.
Yeah, this dude put a pink like jacket up one time.
Yeah,
This little
so like I'm usually, since like I said, like I follow like music. I said somewhere in my past life or in my future life, I'm gonna be in the music industry. I don't know how, but like I follow music. So my thing was with this whole formula, I'm using like the same formula as like indie musicians.
Got it.
The zine is my music. I have merch, and I do these pop-ups at different venues.
Incredible.
Like that's
Your shows.
That's the formula.
Your shows, yeah.
And yeah, you can find me through essentialman_LD. That's my Instagram, man. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yo,
Thank you guys.
I really love this episode,
Yeah,
bro.
truly.
Like, you are an essential man.
Yes.
You
Yes.
are a gentleman. You're a
Yes.
sweet soul.
Yes.
I think what you're doing is very special for this world. I really do. It's impacted me, and I think it's impacted a lot of people as well.
Absolutely.
I fucking love it.
Thank you, man.
So thank you for coming on. Seriously, dude.
Thank you.
You want to hit him with the new sheet?
Mama, we made it. Bop. You dig?